There we
Did
go.
you jiggle the handle?
I just wanked it with a spark plug, so there we go. Don't ask. What were you saying earlier?
Let's get it on.
Get it on.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual that the people of our country and people of other countries all over the world are coming to face a moment of grave decision. A time when we will choose the course of our future.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's gonna be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
That's right. Today is October 26, 2025. You're listening to MMO number 184. And from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm DJ Horsegoo.
You realize you said October, don't you?
Did I?
Yeah, why would you introduce yourself as that if you didn't know there was a mistake?
I didn't know. Anyway, let's do it again.
Get it on.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual that the people of our country and people of other countries all over the world are coming to face a moment of grave decision. A time when we will choose the course of our future.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's gonna be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
That's right. Today's August 26, 2025. You're listening to MMO number 184, and from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm DJ Horsegoo.
And from America's South Coast, I'm John G. Dew.
The dew and the goo right again.
Why? Why are you doing that?
DJ Horsegoo?
Yes.
Because everyone loves DJ Horsegoo.
DJ Horsegoo on the offensive.
Yeah, but that's like a part of the, what we don't record and release to the public and for all time to hear.
I think it's time to come clean to the people. They think
I don't.
They think they're listening to the pre-show with DJ Horsegoo, and Dan Gehring does the Millennial Media Offensive. I am DJ Horsegoo.
I really think you should work on your personas.
Why? Everyone people sent me all the listen.
Watch out for that horse goo.
Yeah, that's one person who sent you both of those.
Some type of goop from a horse.
Horse goop. There you go. How are you doing, John? Besides upset with my choices.
Yes, I was better. Merely 90 seconds ago.
Oh well. So I've been better too. I had a busy week this week. I saw Jersey Boys on Wednesday with my in-laws. I had no idea how many hits Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons had. And my parents
went
came
to a
town.
musical?
Yeah, it's a big thing in St. Louis. People go to musicals.
Yeah, that's right. Y'all were you St. Louis did align with the North in the Civil War, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a kind of a culture here in Missouri, and I never was really one for musicals, and then I started going to them. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's fun to see a show every now and then, and I think the Jersey Boys is probably my favorite one I've ever seen. So, did that on Wednesday, and then I've been prepping the house for my parents' arrival. At least had her baby shower this weekend. So we did a bunch of home projects with my dad around the house, and it's just been nonstop at work. So I'm slightly jebbed, which was a term we coined at the end of last week's post show, being low energy. But I'm drinking some coffee now, some Gigawatt, and we're going to be good to go.
Very nice. Very nice. I've seen one musical, and it was The Nutcracker.
That would be the one you've seen.
Well, yeah, because it's a classic. It's a classic. I'm sure.
You
You're
thought
gonna
it
go
was
see Hamilton next?
You thought it was
dye your hair blue?
You thought that The Nutcracker was about a crazy white guy. You were upset this week because Cracker Barrel took the Nutcracker off their logo. I can tell. I can tell already.
You know, that guy probably was a nutcracker, and he just doesn't fit the culture anymore.
That's right. Uncle Herschel. I didn't know that was Uncle Herschel. That was my first time learning about that. I used to like the Uncle Herschel when I went to Cracker and Barrel. I would order that, but I didn't know the guy on the sign was Uncle Herschel. But he's just a random guy on the sign. But everyone's all up in arms about that. I don't have any clips on it, but part of
they're up in
ongoing
arms
culture
because
war.
they're told to be. If they had just changed the logo and the CEO hadn't made some stupid CEO comment and they had just kind of done it, it wouldn't have been a big thing. You know, you maybe would have seen 2 or 3 Facebook posts about it, but it would not have become what it has become. I consider this AstroTurf.
Yeah, it's part of the ongoing culture war of things that are going on around the world all the time, 24/7.
One has to wonder, I don't know if someone in our sphere said this or not, but I saw it somewhere, and I thought it was a good thought, even if it's not necessarily accurate. It's a good way of thinking about these things. This could be a ploy of private capital to tank the shares and basically liquidate the real estate.
Could be. I think I don't know. Cracker Barrel's. I think it does pretty good. People are pretty.
Yeah. See,
pretty big
that's
fans
why
of
I'm
it.
not sure if that's actually accurate. But again, it's a good frame of mind to have around these things. But yeah, I think Cracker Barrel does pretty well.
Yeah, I haven't been in some time. I remember every time I go, it's like, oh, it's okay. You know, it's not anything to write home
It's
about.
fine.
But yeah, people have. There's like their avid fan base. It's like one of those movies
Yeah.
that sucks, but there's this group of people that love it, and so
And you know, it's slightly better than your community diner that everyone goes to because it's the community diner, even though you're getting, you know, big box mega slop meals that have just been heated up in an oven. You know, nobody's making anything back in the kitchen, but everyone goes there because it's the local diner and it's trash. Cracker Barrel's just one step above that, and it's your local diner chain. So it's, again, it's not great by any means, but it's fine for what it is, and it's a novelty. I don't mind going to Cracker Barrel, I don't know, once a month maybe. I wouldn't mind that. Not that I go that frequently. I don't have one close enough to me to go that frequently. But
yeah,
I've got no reason.
I only eat at
to
Cracker
dislike
Barrels
Cracker
when I'm
Barrel.
staying at hotels for whatever reason. If I'm staying in a hotel, and there's a Cracker Barrel nearby, I'll end up going to it for breakfast, and then playing the peg game.
Yeah, I mean, I get excited to go play checkers. I don't even want to go to the table when my food comes out. I just want people to play checkers with me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like looking up the best strategy for the peg game beforehand and memorizing it, and then doing it at the table and being like, "Look, I'm a genius." It's fun.
It's not that difficult.
No. There's a very distinct strategy, which is pretty much involves doing circles on the triangle board. If you ever want to impress your friends or whoever your grandparents, whoever you dine at Cracker Barrel with. My friend sent me a meme that said only one person can save Cracker Barrel at this point, and it was a busty photo of Sydney Sweeney wearing a Cracker Barrel shirt. Again, part of the culture war. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I was about to say, is your friend on Social Security?
No. Just the Beebs and whatnot. Part of that world. There's people. You got to realize when I talk to my friends, I call them normies, and you have to realize that they're constantly 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the world that we exist in, and so that's partial regurgitation of what they hear, and then partial memes of just kind of what's popular that day, despite a deeper dive and a deeper look at it that we would take that they just don't get. So. If you are listening to the show, the MMO show, you're part of that. You're small group. You're part of the small group. Congratulations. You.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I'm glad you pointed that out because me making fun of people's memes is kind of It's kind of mean. I'm a little jaded. I get annoyed with the surface level memes. But I do enjoy memes generally. But the Facebook tier memes sort of get on my nerves sometimes. And I shouldn't be so jaded. I should work on that.
That's right. Well, here on MMO, we like to grow. The MMO growth strategy, you will grow as a human being if you listen to the show, if you participate in the show.
Especially if you listen before we go live, you'll hear book readings, avid disagreements,
John, and
colorful language.
Very colorful language. From Mr. Do himself, even. So, yeah, that's all part of the reason why you should be here live and listening. And I tell you what, you will grow as a person twofold if you donate to the show. That's an MMO guarantee. I guarantee it. Anyway, what happened this week? What caught your eye that you thought was very interesting?
You keep asking me that, like we talk about the news here or something.
We do. What are you clicking on? When I just asked you that question, I heard your mouse click about 5 times. What is it that you are clicking on?
It's my show notes. I just like to click in my show notes.
Okay. That's a weird tick, but I get it. I do.
I need a stealth mouse.
They make those. They do.
Yeah, and I need one.
Perfect. I think, well, I'll kick it off then. I thought one of the most interesting stories this week, it broke on Friday, so it's kind of old news by this point, but John Bolton being raided by the FBI. Mustache man, warmonger, neocon, John Bolton house gets raided by the FBI, and I just loved the news coverage of it instantly. Instantly, I saw the story, and I could already pick the mainstream media talking points. I'm going to play the kind of intro as it happened clip from CNN, and then I am going to play a clip from MSNBC where the memo had gone out.
We learned just moments ago, according to a source, that the FBI conducted a court-authorized search at the home of John Bolton as part of a national security investigation. John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, former national security advisor under the first Trump administration, a frequent critic of late of President Trump, a frequent vocal critic of President Trump, and President Trump has been a frequent vocal critic of John Bolton. Lots of bad blood between these two men, but again, learning that there is a court-authorized FBI search at John Bolton's home this morning. Let's bring in CNN's Caitlin Polantz for the very latest on this. We saw pictures of officers around the home of John Bolton. What's known at this time?
She's got great thighs.
Well, John, we are looking at these pictures of John Bolton's home in Maryland being searched by the FBI.
I'm just imagining her being upside
officials
down.
going to his door to conduct a search. And we have confirmed that the FBI conducted that court-authorized search, meaning that they would have gone to a court as part of a very likely criminal probe. Our understanding is this part of a national security investigation. Exactly what that would be and what sort of reasoning the Justice Department and the FBI would give the court for conducting that national security search, still a huge question here. But this is a person that Donald Trump has been very much on the outs with since he wrote a book about his service in the first Trump administration when John Bolton was the national security advisor to President Donald Trump at that time.
What do you see when you look at this morning? What questions do you have?
What is that? What kind of cut was that?
What do you see?
I mean, without knowing what this search is for, it seems like it's a very petty act by President Trump. It looks like it's just more revenge and more
without having
retribution
information
on his political
retribution.
enemies. It's unfortunate to
that's what
continue
it
to
looks
weaponize
like.
the DOJ and weaponize the FBI. I mean, they have other things I'm sure that they could be doing besides raiding his house or, executing this search warrant. So to me, it just seems extremely political, extremely petty, and just a really poor use of the resources of the DOJ and the FBI.
Really poor. It's retribution and it's petty. And I called it right away. I go, this was not about national security. Just like the DC thing. This isn't about crime. This is about control. I knew the talking points would be, this is not This is not about national security. This is about taking down anyone that's critical of Donald Trump, weaponizing it. And you heard her.
Well, to be fair, it's not very difficult to predict.
No, of course. No, I'm not saying,
here.
aha, we predicted that. I'm saying that's, like the media is so predictable at this point that that's instantly what they're going to go to. Instantly what they're going to go to. They're really busy painting this picture of this authoritarian dystopia of the United States where Donald Trump is weaponizing his power. He's deploying the militia on the streets of the United States. He's putting armed soldiers on the streets of the U.S. To deal with American citizens, and now he's weaponized the FBI to attack his enemies in the state, his enemies imagined in the United States. John Bolton, openly critical of Donald Trump. And it might be the case, but the media just paints the narrative right away.
It very well could be the case.
Yeah.
Matt Taibbi was on, and we don't have to play my clip because it's basically just the rundown from Fox Business, which tends to be, all the business channels tend to be a little more cut and dry if you really want to get just the facts with very little of this slant that Dan has identified with CNN's reporting. But Matt Taibbi went on Newsmax. And Taibbi doesn't sound great. I don't know how much you listen to Matt Taibbi, but he doesn't sound great in this clip that I found. I didn't actually clip it, but because it was kind of hard to listen to. But he's not sounding good. But anyway, he said that he had been told that this is all related to a systemic leaking operation around the time of the Russiagate scandal, and that the FBI had actually investigated all of this leaking and decided not to bring charges, which is scandalous if you hear Matt Taibbi tell it, and that there would be many more of these raids and potential indictments.
Yeah, I like the people that paint it, and John Bolton's one of those guys who's divisive. He was being made fun of by the late night talk show hosts and super critical on MSNBC of him and all these other places. And then all of a sudden his house gets raided, and now he's this representative, their hero, somebody that stood up to Trump and is now being punished for it in real time. So it's kind of funny. But I like the people that were painting this idea that this is Trump's attack on the deep state, kind of. Part of me really, really wants to believe that.
Well, that's basically what Matt Taibbi was saying.
Yeah.
Now, that's a gross over generalization that it's an attack on the deep state. But you could argue that Bolton represents the establishment within the American government, the deep state, as it were. You could argue that he's a representative of that, and the people that spearheaded the Russiagate event were definitely acting in favor or on behalf of the deep state. So while I get that, I also understand that it's a generalization to say that.
Well, if
you're not going to take down John Bolton and 6 other people and the deep state is gone.
No, I get that, but he is definitely a character in that 30-year neocon hold that they had on the country. So he's a pretty prominent one and still a stark defender of the Iraq War somehow. Somehow he is the only guy in that camp. But the retribution memo went out, and MSNBC had Claire McCaskill on and a few other people, and they just kept saying the word, and it was pretty funny, so I clipped it. But here is an MSNBC on John Bolton and the FBI raid on his home.
We have this. We don't know there's a link, but we certainly know this is a president who has promised retribution.
We don't know.
Yeah, this is chilling. It really is.
Has he promised retribution, or are we just supposed to accept that?
John Bolton and I disagreed on many things back in the days when I was serving in public office, but I don't think very many people that know John Bolton would argue that his beliefs were intellectually sound. You could disagree with him, and that he gave a lot to this country in terms of time and his intellect and his work ethic. And clearly this is retribution. Clearly this is using the FBI in a way that not only tarnishes the FBI, but it tarnishes our country. I mean, this is what they do in countries where they don't have rule of law. This is what happens when despots take over, like Putin. And John Bolton has always been critical of how, I mean, he about lost it when Trump wanted to invite the Taliban to Camp David. It's chilling. Now, do I think they're ever going to have evidence to convict this man of anything in a court of law with a jury? No, they won't. But they can make him miserable.
Yeah, and Gene Robinson, again, we should stress, we don't know a lot about what's happening here. We saw FBI Director Kash Patel's social media post.
Openly.
John Bolton, former Trump national security advisor turned Trump critic, his home raided in Bethesda, Maryland.
Yeah, look, I agree with Claire. I find it difficult, if not impossible, to believe that there's some reason to arrest John Bolton on national security grounds. I found plenty of reason to disagree with John Bolton's positions, with his prescriptions for foreign policy over the years, but this seems to be just blatant, bald-faced retribution.
That guy was the baritone in his school choir, if you could believe it. But yeah, retribution. We don't know much, but it's clearly bald-face retribution. And we still don't know much, honestly. They kind of just stopped talking about it, the media. After the Friday raid, they did some Saturday coverage, and then that was it.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, because you'd think it'd be wall-to-wall Trump going full Stalin, but you're not really getting that. Not yet, anyway. Maybe they've all gotten the word that this is just the start. Maybe not. I don't know. Now, another thing Taibbi said was that the statute of limitations was running out on a lot of this stuff. So it should happen in pretty quick succession if it's going to happen, with some more people getting raided or arrested or charged or whatever.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. I've seen kind of the culture war up to this point where it has become they're trying to paint a photo. They're trying to paint a picture and burn the Trump campaign on both ends. He's a dictator and authoritarian. With the cities, they're trying to play the race card heavy, very heavy. I didn't pull a clip, but I had tuned into MSNBC, and that black lady with the short hair, kind of a bigger woman, had another black guy on it, and they were talking about how it's just pure racism. So it's weird because they missed like the summer period for when those protests would really be impactful and people get out there. But I think they're teeing it up for next summer ahead of the midterm elections. So that's the angle that they're going to continue to attack on and push on. He's an authoritarian and he's a racist. So the white Christian nationalist angle, I think, is remaining pretty prominent. That's going to be their attack vector. But I would be interested to see how the other members of the deep state that they go after.
Yeah, since you mentioned the cities, I've got one clip in the crime folder that's adjacent to these, the deployments of the National Guard and all this. I saw some reporting that Trump was going to deploy National Guard to some states. I haven't seen anything confirming that, but he is going to face legal challenges if he does this without the invitation of the governors, which is why I think the D.C. exercise would have been a good and could be a good template to bring in your state National Guard detachments, let them train in D.C., then go back and have the governor say, okay, Mr. President, do as you will. Then you just bring up the 400 or 600 that went to D.C., and move them in and start cleaning up the crime. I still think that's a good idea if your governor's willing to do that. If your governor's not willing to do that, then I think Trump is going to be spending energy on a topic that he's not going to win on. But I don't think that's going to deter him either, because in other news, we had him signing a declaration that the FBI is going to investigate all cases of burning of American flags as potential grounds for charging inciting a riot, which the Supreme Court, in a very well-known case
in the 80s,
held that, I think the 70s, held that burning an American flag was protected speech. And you may disagree with that, and you may never burn an American flag, and that's fine. But if we're going to have the First Amendment, do you want the First Amendment or not? I mean, it's fine if you don't. That's always my angle is if you don't want it, that's fine. But don't extol the virtues of the Bill of Rights in one breath and then say you should go to jail for burning the American flag in the other. That's a bit of a tangent. What I wanted to go to was this topic of the National Guard in the cities. And Maryland is in the crosshairs because of Baltimore. And Maryland's governor, Wes Moore, was on Face the Nation. And, you hear all these terrible stories from the cities about, the stray bullet that strikes the infant or the newborn baby in the apartment across the block when these gangs get in a shootout. You've heard these.
You were talking about it weeks ago. You were fired up about it 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I was, and I tend to get that way about this. Of all of those stories, the innocent passerby being killed by the stray bullet, the child in their home being struck by a bullet, Wes Moore is going to give us an anecdote of why he decided to start cleaning up the crime in Baltimore, because, he's already started, so there's no need for Trump to come in. He's going to give us an anecdote as to what really motivated him to get the ball rolling and cleaning up crime in Baltimore. And make no mistake, he doesn't think it should be done in the same way Trump does, but he's making the case that he's already started this effort so that, when Trump decides to deploy the National Guard to Maryland, that Wes Moore can say, no, I've already started this, you don't need to do this, and we're going to bring legal challenges. It's also grounds for Wes Moore to say, well, I don't need to ask Trump for help. We've already started addressing the crime issue. So I want to ask you, do you have any idea what this anecdote is that Wes Moore is going to give us as to what really motivated him to start taking crime more seriously and to get after cleaning up Baltimore?
No, I have no idea what it could be.
Okay. Well, before we do it, I just want to say I think I've got a great slogan for Wes Moore if he wanted to run for president one day. It could be Wes is more. Anyway.
The bounty candidate.
Yes, Maryland Governor Wes Moore anecdote.
So you are a Democrat who is, President Trump says so as well, possibly a presidential candidate. He talked about you the other day.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time talking about you.
I've been on his mind a lot.
You're spending time talking about crime. Is this something that, as a Democrat, you think the Democratic Party needs to be more vocal and muscular about when running for office? Because I hear you doing that. It's a very big change from 2020 when the idea was defund the police.
Absolutely. And yeah, the president's spending all of his time talking about me. I'm spending my time talking about the people I serve. And yes, I believe that we have to be able to address the issue of crime. I came up in and I have existed in neighborhoods and communities that have been chronically neglected. And I remember one of the first things that happened in our first months in, I had to visit shock trauma inside of Baltimore because Baltimore had one of the largest mass shootings in its history. And I visited a young man, a teenager, who was just finished surgery and had one of his testicles shot off, and was talking about how was he ever going to become a father. And I said at that point, I refuse to continue doing this and not putting the proper resources in place and not being able to put a real focus on making our community safer.
Oh, yes. I decided to get real hard on crime when crime was making our men soft. Man, a kid gets shot in the Nuggets, and that's why he's doing crime now?
That's what he says. That's what he said. And apparently only had one shot off. So all it takes is, go visit a kid who had one testicle shot off, and you'll get serious about crime, I guess. Never mind the children and women who are shot and killed by gang violence.
Not the people like I couldn't visit because they were dead from gang violence.
Right.
Not those people. It was the boy that got hit in the nugs. That's the one that really inspired me. How am I going to be a father? It's probably a blessing for you, honestly. Probably a blessing. I can't get past Wes Moore's name because he sounds like he should be a white captain of a lacrosse team.
Hey, Wes is Moore.
Wes is Moore. Wesley Thaddeus Moore the third.
The third.
Of Devonshire. Oh, well, good for him. Good for him and that anecdote. Have you noticed, and this is kind of a little bit of a shifting scene from it, have you noticed that the Democrats have started to try to play the whole populist funny man on Twitter?
Okay, I was going to say yes when you said populist because I think they're realizing they have to shift that way. That's the reason for the swooning over Mondami. But I don't follow the funny man on Twitter.
Gavin Newsom, Newscum, as people like to call him, he's been tweeting a lot. He's been dropping merch. He's pretty much been taking the Trump tact of...
Oh, he's dropping merch.
Yeah, he's I Make MAGA Cry is a shirt that he released. Ooh,
oh, my God.
Very tough guy. But he's been Twitter fingers all over again and trying to get the national attention. So there has been speculation that Gavin Newsom's not going to run for president in 2028. I think that is out the window. He's definitely going to run for president in 2028. But yeah, he's kind of taking the Trump tact of bullying on Twitter, but bullying MAGA in particular. Bullying the bullies, as they call it.
He's standing up.
Yeah. And, Emily the Fed, who's not a Fed.
You are not
a Fed. Ooh. Little stereo echo there. She said, is Trump doing anything to actually cause any lasting positive change? Just feels like an ego fest. And I think that's kind of what the whole point of this is to keep Trump in this headspace of this culture war and to not actually get anything done. And so America First falls behind entirely. And everyone's getting disillusioned by that, I think. So, I don't know. The whole culture war thing is just, I know I keep saying it, but it's just so distracting and not where my head's at.
Well, if Trump really wanted to make lasting change in D.C., again, he doesn't have too much power to do that in the states as we understand it. Now, Trump could do whatever he wants to in reality. The world is yours. You can have it all. But under our current understanding of his powers, he can't really do much in the states, especially if he abides by the courts. But in D.C., he could ask Congress, and he wouldn't ask. He would just say, "Hey, boy, do this," and they could completely federalize D.C. They could abolish the position of the mayor, abolish the city council. They could do away with everything that resembles a hierarchy of authority in Washington, D.C. outside of the federal government. That's well within their authority to do that. And I think Trump could even try to do it through executive order. Congress would probably back him up on it, but I think it'd be easier for him to just say, hey, could you do this for me? And let Congress do it so it doesn't get bogged down in the courts, which he has never really shown an aversion to having things get bogged down in the courts anyway. So that if he really wanted to make lasting change in D.C., he would do that. But as far as the states go, that's really up to the governors. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what else he could do as president unless he actually followed through with the great man of history line of thinking and just said, you know what, this is out of control. We've got to do something about it. Here comes the National Guard. Here comes the Marines. And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, isn't there some sort of state of emergency type thing he could declare to suspend?
He could.
Certain states' rights in that.
Well, I mean, you've been an American for long enough. You should know there's an emergency for every right that needs to be suspended.
That's right. That's right. It's not quite as bad as England or Europe, but they exist. They definitely exist. Yeah, I don't know. It really just feels like everything is stalling out now, and we're just getting into straight politics 24/7.
Well, I think that's a bit of a black-pilled outlook. I don't think things are necessarily stalling out. There's really no organized pushback on this. There's no effective resistance to this. It's just a matter of the nature of governance in modern America and the sheer size of the machinery of government. It takes time to do these things. And, it would have felt like this a lot earlier if so many things hadn't happened internationally. Our attention was captured by a lot of things going on internationally. And if you were solely focused on domestic politics, you would have already felt the same way that, things are stalling out, not much is getting done, when in reality, it just takes time to do these things.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point indeed. We have been, I mostly focus on geopolitics and international. So when I do
That's why there's two of us.
When I do turn inward to domestic politics, I'm like, what is this? What is this slop? What is this goop? Oh, all right. Well, what do we have domestic-wise since we started here this evening? Oh, yeah, the Maryland father. What do you have?
Well, I was just going to say, speaking of flag burnings, there was actually a judge, and I'm going to get his name, I think in Idaho, who ruled that attacks on the Star of David, any symbology that features the Star of David, is grounds for a hate crime. So Trump is issuing an order that you can't burn American flags or you're going to be investigated for inciting a riot. At the same time, you've got a judge in Idaho ruling, legal group hails breakthrough as U.S. judge equates Israeli flag with Jewish identity. A Jewish legal advocacy group hailed a legal breakthrough in court battles against anti-Semitism after a U.S. federal judge last week equated the Israeli flag with, quote, the Jewish race.
Yeah, this is part of the Hasbara campaign of when Israel is and is not a Jewish state, right? When critical of Israel,
muddying the waters.
Yes, it's a Jewish state. When Israel is doing something bad, it's has nothing to do with Jewish people. It's its own free state. I came across this in a neighborhood discussion. A secular state. I came across this when there was an event where somebody, I think, graffitied some death to the IDF or something outside of this IDF general that lives in St. Louis's house somewhere around, and everyone was calling it anti-Semitic, and I kind of played devil's advocate. I go, well, why is this considered anti-Semitic? And the people will come out and do mental gymnastics to try to equate to it's the only Jewish state, and this is the defenders of the Jewish people of the state, and therefore it's anti-Semitic. And it's unique because that's part of the ploy. That's part of the game. Anything that's critical of Israel is thus anti-Semitic at that point. And yeah, that bill does not help at all in Idaho. So now you'd have free speech where you can burn an American flag, but if you burn an Israeli flag, that's a hate crime. To quote Mitch Hedberg,
Yeah.
every crime's
what
a
is
hate crime if you don't like the guy.
Great quote. Great quote. We respect our philosophers here.
We do.
It's Judge Trevor McFadden. And Trevor McFadden is District of Columbia. I don't know where I got Idaho from, but District of Columbia. So this is coming straight out of the swamp of Washington, D.C., where the Israeli lobby is no doubt the strongest and has the most influence. McFadden, you would think, would be a more English common law, freedom and liberty minded guy with his last name, but alas, he recognizes the superiority of the Jewish people over the rest of the earth, and we must not offend our overlords.
That's true. It was, what's his name's father? Who is Ivanka Trump married to?
Kushner?
Yeah, Jared Kushner's dad, who got a really cushy ambassadorship to France, is in hot water.
Oh, that's a good ambassadorship.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know about France in particular. I'd probably want like Italy or maybe even Germany. Germany would be fun. But he made a comment about France not doing enough to quell anti-Semitism, and they've asked him to now appear in front of their Congress. They've summoned him. France summons U.S. Ambassador Kushner over the claim its call for Palestinian state is anti-Semitic. There it is. So apparently France called for the independent Palestinian state, and Kushner labeled that as anti-Semitic, and now he has been summoned to appear in front of the French Parliament. So there you go. It's a really easy way to screw up a nice gig that you got because your son is banging the president's daughter.
Yeah. Just keep your mouth shut.
That's right. Only open it for slices of brie on a nice baguette.
Yes, that's it.
And your Bordeaux. So it's funny because it's this kind of stuff's happening all over. Yeah, people are kind of getting upset with Israel, and Israel's losing control. And we talked about this a while ago. That maybe they don't need control anymore. It seems like they are actually trying to fight to get back into that state of control. But they want to be the hegemony in the Middle East. They want to be the sole power in the Middle East. Now that they're aligned with Saudi Arabia, they've only got one less demon to really slaughter, and that is Iran. So, regime changing coming. As soon as every other war that they're currently in dies down, I imagine tensions with Iran will kick up.
I'm reading this legal brief, or the judgment, I guess you'd call it, by McFadden. Did you know that in an actual court document, the N-word is censored?
Censored how?
N********.
In what context is it used?
And targeting the Star of David is as racially motivated as, quote, the highly offensive racial slur.
I'm not familiar with N******. You could easily make that argument. You know what I mean? Well,
exactly. What is this? I don't know what this is.
Yep. There you go. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know that about this argument or about court documents. I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at them. But so this is passed in Idaho, right? You said that's where the judge is from?
No, D.C. I said that initially. I was wrong.
Okay. So is it a federal judgment now that burning the Israeli flag is anti-Semitic? Can you be charged with burning the Israeli flag?
No, it's just a judge making a civil judgment, but it's precedent. You understand, precedent is very important. And the precedent here, I'll read it verbatim. Purposefully yanking on an Israeli flag tied around a Jewish person's neck to choke them is direct evidence of racial discrimination. The Star of David, emblazoned upon the Israeli flag, symbolizes the Jewish race. Star of David, Encyclopedia Britannica, the yellow badge that Jews were forced to wear in Nazi-occupied Europe, invested the Star of David with a symbolism indicating martyrdom and heroism. Battery, particularly involving a racial symbol, is strong evidence of racial discrimination. It is more severe than racial slurs or statements that constitute direct evidence. And targeting the Star of David is as racially motivated as the highly offensive racial slur in *********.
Wow. Yeah, it's been their symbol for nearly 200 years, so you can see how that's highly correlated with them. Do you think they chose the Star of David and really kind of pushed it forward after the Holocaust to be a symbol of martyrdom?
Yes, because the star was actually assigned not only to people of Jewish ethnicity, but to anyone who was considered less desirable.
I see.
Vagrants, the less desirables in Germany.
Hitler really gave the Star of David its significance to the Jewish people. Like, Jesus dying on the cross. The cross is not a happy symbol, right? It's not a fun symbol. It's almost like an ominous point to.
It's a symbol of martyrdom.
Exactly, and so now that's what the Star of David becomes because of the Holocaust. For those that don't know, the Star of David has not long been the symbol of the Jewish people. In fact, the menorah was for a very long time. And then I think starting in the 1800s, it was gaining popularity, but it really didn't take off until post-World War II as being a definitive symbol of the Jewish people. Obviously, made official with the flag of Israel being this now symbol of the Jewish people, even though Israel itself is declared a secular state. So I don't know. Weird stuff. Weird stuff indeed. Everyone's going crazy.
And of course, your characterization of the history of the Star of David would be challenged with,
of course it would be,
the vagaries of history.
I mean, I think there's compelling evidence to suggest that the Star of David is actually the Star of Rephan, as referenced in the book of Stephen. But that's another rabbit hole for another time.
You Catholic and your book of Stephen.
It's great.
So, yes, and, I want to just back up from this ethnic symbolism and say, I don't care what symbol you're wearing and what it means to you. Assault or battery is assault or battery. This whole notion of a hate crime has got to go. It has to go. And in any just society, it would be laughed out of the room.
To suggest that, well, I mean, if you choke a Jewish person with an Israeli flag, then yeah, that's battery. But to suggest that's a hate crime, I think that would be, you'd have to look into the soul of the person that committed the crime.
Which the law cannot do.
It can't do. It can't do. It can declare this is a hate crime, but a lot of times the actual, it's subjective every single time. There's not an objective hate crime.
Yes, it is a legal mechanism for selective punishment.
Ooh, selective punishment. I like it. The protected classes. Well, there's some hate crimes going on in the United States right now. Are you aware of those?
I don't know.
It's from the MAGA, and it's a hatred towards immigrants.
Is this an ICE segment?
Yeah, weak transition. No, but Abrigo Garcia was detained by ICE, and there's a rundown of the situation. A rundown of the situation of how it happened. Here we go.
Well, John, there have been multiple developments within a span of 2 hours. It wasn't that long ago that Gilman Abreu Garcia was standing right behind me along with his wife as he was thanking organizers and his family before going into that federal building behind me to check in with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But then only 45 minutes later is when we learned from his attorney that he was taken into ICE custody shortly after entering the building. And here's what his attorney had to say.
If they want to deport him to any other country, they need to go through that exact same process. Unless and until they have gone through that process, they do not have the right to put him on an airplane. And that's what we're going to be asking the district court to ensure, that he is not put on any flight to any country whatsoever, whether it's Uganda, South Sudan, what have you, unless and until he has had a full and fair trial.
Now, the big question here, John, is where he is going to be deported. That is exactly what his attorney was talking about there. Previously, the administration had offered a plea deal that if he were to plead to 2 federal charges and carry out his criminal sentence here in the United States, that he'd be deported to Costa Rica. But if not, the Trump administration would deport him to Uganda, a country with which he has no ties to. That has been something that the administration has leaned on often, the removals to third countries. But the attorney said that Gilman Abreu Garcia is okay with being deported to Costa Rica. The question is, will the administration do it if
Brothers
the
and
plea
sisters
deal is not accepted, which we know.
Sorry, I don't know why.
Wow, some poor mixing there.
No, it was not poor mixing. It was a playback issue.
I love that she's saying his name with such reverence for his culture. That's very nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very professional of her.
So he went to check in with ICE, the ICE facility, and basically there was this big support rally for him while he's going in to check in ICE. It was supposed to be this victory rally. It's really kind of a Rosa Parks type situation. They kind of assumed that he was going to get recaptured, so they had this big meeting outside beforehand with him. He goes in to check in. She's shaking supporters' hands and whatnot and everything. He goes in and he gets detained by ICE while he's checking in to the immigration office, I guess. So now there's this big staged protest outside of the immigration office, and people are upset. And he actually got a chance to speak before he went in, and this is what he had to say. And so this was prior to him getting arrested by ICE in this office. So it was like a rally support for him and a snub in the face of the Trump campaign or the Trump administration.
Reuní con mi familia. Brothers and sisters, my name is Gilman Abreu Garcia, and I want you to remember this. Remember that I am free, and I was able to be reunited with my family.
Now, again, his fate and his future is still uncertain at this hour, but the fact that we do know is that he is in custody in the building behind me here in Baltimore. John?
Yeah, that was just after 7 o'clock in the morning when he said, I am free. By 8 o'clock, 8:15, no longer the case. Priscilla Alvarez in Baltimore watching it all unfold. Great to have you there. Thank you very much.
You know, something I hadn't really thought about until this came back up. When this came back around, I really started thinking about this in the historical context, and in the historical context of the oppressed peoples in America, the modern state of America, that is, not the Americas, where Gilman Abreu Garcia is from. The historical context here is that there are people who are groomed to play these roles. Rosa Parks is a great example.
Yep.
And then you get this statement right before he's detained again. I am free. I am free. This reeks of your classic Mexican-style revolutionary who is resisting till death. He resists with every breath. That is his he is destined to resist. And I think more and more, the more I hear about this, the more I think this was planned from the outset. How many more people could have been chosen to be highlighted like this? Millions, if we believe the Trump administration's figures.
He's the star of Kilmar. You know, he becomes the symbol of martyrdom. And that's exactly what it was. This whole thing was staged. They knew he was going to be detained. But then they came out and acted like shocked when he was detained, when he went in to go check in. So the whole thing was a staged kind of event, much like Rosa Parks on the bus. It's just a publicity op and part of this symbol. And so now Kilmar, it's the Kilmar star. That's what people wear. It'll be painted on brick walls in Latin parts of cities. He's a new historical icon and leader. And if he doesn't get deported, he will be the man that defeated the Trump admin on immigration. The poster child of it.
Yes. Move over, Che Guevara.
That's right. That's right. It's going to be Kilmar El Brego on a T-shirt, and it'll be red and black, and he'll have a star on his hat. A six-pointed star,
we should make
maybe.
That shirt.
That would be funny. Or he's got a band on his arm.
Yes.
Something like that. And it could be the symbols that were tattooed on his hand. The Latin George Floyd. Yeah, very good, Blue Steed. That is, he could be the Latin George Floyd.
Yeah, but he's not dead yet.
That would be a twist. That would be a twist. I don't know. The death is definitely a thing that makes you more of a martyr, but I think you can still be a champion or somebody. You can go on speaking tours or whatnot. He's gonna come out better for this than he was. I guarantee it.
Talk about, holy book tour.
But he is going to be deported. That's going to happen.
My name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and this is my book, My Time in Uganda.
He's going to endorse the Democratic nomination for president in 2028. I bet. That's a prediction.
I'll say this. He'll have that level of station if he's alive.
Yeah, they'll play it on the news. They'll be like, yeah, Kilmar Abrego, he's endorses Gavin Newsom or whoever the person is going to be. Ugh. All right, what do you have domestic-wise?
I don't have anything domestic, but I can go south of the border and talk about a good bit of stuff going on in South America. I think some things that have finally started moving. You know, I've had my eye on South America for a while because of Marco Rubio.
Yeah, little Marco.
And Marco Rubio's hawkish nature toward South America, specifically Cuba and Venezuela. And I think now we're getting the moves. Moves are starting to be made. And I've got this first clip from First Post in the South America folder. Trump show of force Venezuela.
Tensions are escalating between Venezuela and the United States. Washington has reportedly ordered additional ships to the Southern Caribbean as part of President Donald Trump's efforts to address threats from Latin American drug cartels. Now, reports say the Trump administration is deploying a guided missile cruiser along with a nuclear-powered submarine. Both are expected to arrive in the region by early next week. And now, with full details of the deployment still unclear, it's part of President Trump's broader effort to crack down on drug cartels, including designating Mexico, Sinaloa, and Venezuela's Tren de Aragua as global terrorist groups. Just last week, the U.S. ordered an amphibious squadron to the Southern Caribbean. 3 warships are reportedly already heading towards Venezuela's coast as Washington steps up pressure on President Nicolas Maduro, who is accused of heading a cocaine trafficking cartel.
Ooh.
The Venezuelan leader has repeatedly claimed that his country is free of drug trafficking. In fact, he's accusing Washington of attempting to force a regime change and has urged citizens to join the Bolivarian militia, a civilian force connected to Venezuela's armed forces. Now, in response to the U.S. military movements, Venezuela announced on Monday that it will deploy 15,000 troops to the Colombian border. The country's interior minister said the government was deploying the troops to bolster security in states that border Colombia. He also added that the number of aircraft, drones, and boats to patrol the border rivers in the region will also be increased.
The president has ordered a special operational reinforcement of Operation Relámpago del Catatumbo and has extended it to the state of Taquira with Peace Zone Number 1. In the first phase, he has ordered the deployment of 15,000 men and women on the Venezuelan side as reinforcements. On top of those, we already have up to the border of the state of Taquira. Next will come Peace Zone Number 2, and then Peace Zone Number 3. All of this is on the border with our sister country, Colombia.
Peace Zone, I love it. Yeah, what's in Peace Zone 1, 2, and 3? Armed soldiers. But yeah, this whole thing has, I call it the watching the destroyers depart for Venezuela. I called it the Marco del Marco, or El Marco del Marco, which is the mark of Marco. It's got his name written all over it.
Oh yeah, he little Marco is living his dream right now.
I mean, the 3 aircraft carriers sent to Venezuela is nothing more than we are already patrolling the waters with our Coast Guard, but the ships are just more of a statement than anything. But Maduro's taking it seriously. I know your clip had that little thing in the end of it, but I have a clip of like boots on the ground in Venezuela from France 24 talking about how Maduro's rallying inside the nation and getting people ready.
Yeah.
I'll let her rip.
On Friday, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro railed against the U.S.'s deployment of 3 warships off the coast of his country sent to combat alleged drug trafficking.
What they're threatening to do against Venezuela, regime change, a military terrorist attack, is immoral, criminal, and illegal.
Maduro is accused of narco-terrorism and conspiring to negotiate shipments of cocaine produced by the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. Anonymous sources have told the news agency Reuters that 3 American ships deployed this week could arrive off the coast of Venezuela as early as Saturday. The sources said the ships were carrying 4,500 military service members, including over 2,000 Marines. Maduro has ordered the deployment of 4.5 million militia members across Venezuela this weekend to prepare a response to the perceived U.S. threat and called for public rallies against Washington. Meanwhile, residents in Caracas had mixed views about the U.S. naval deployment.
While it is true that the United States Army is giant, there are also giants who are with us. There are the Russians and the Chinese who will support us at any moment.
I don't believe that this is true. I mean, that is like speculation, because there is really no reason for them to invade us, even though they are against Venezuela development and progress. But I hope that is not the case. I hope that this is a rumor, that it is false.
Throughout the week, a number of Latin American and Caribbean countries, including Colombia and Cuba, have condemned the naval deployment off Venezuela's coast as a threat to regional peace and stability.
Yeah, so apparently Maduro is telling people they're actually going to come in. They're going to raid us. Like they're going to land troops on the ground and take over Venezuela. So that's what they're prepping for, and that's what that guy was talking about. But though I think the lady saying China and Russia will have our back, I'm not so sure. That's the case. I wouldn't bet all your marbles on that. But I also bet that we're not going to invade Venezuela.
Yeah, 3 warships is just a show of force. And they're not just aircraft carriers either. We got a guided missile cruiser, and I think maybe a battleship. What did you call it?
El Marco del Marco.
El Marco del Marco. Yes, this is El Marco del Marco, and this is a piece of a puzzle that we've got to figure out. And I think the triangle of there's a triangle if you look at a map: Venezuela, Mexico, Cuba. They form the triangle of, I don't know, troubled children. And they've got to be handled. They've got to be taken care of. And I include Mexico because of this next report. Now, I also want to say, I've got this next report coming up, but just to give some historical context that I had forgotten about until I looked at my notes here, Rubio in the past has recommended, in the first Trump administration, recommended at least twice invading Venezuela. So while Trump may not allow this, Rubio wants this. He wants Venezuela. He wants Maduro. He wants Maduro's head on a platter. And whether you do it through the proxy of Colombia, or through stoking unrest in Venezuela, which I think is a long shot. I think people are generally going to rally behind Maduro in the face of the empire, as they call it. But Rubio wants this, so make no mistake about that. Whether you think we'll invade or not, Rubio wants this.
Yeah, we want the entire Western
And
Hemisphere under our influence and not Russia and China. The lady saying what she said is one of the reasons why we're sending destroyers down to South America. You're our slave state.
Right. Now, I also want to mention a name that may come up if we do start successfully fomenting dissatisfaction in Venezuela, and that's the name of Edmundo Gonzalez. That is generally accepted to be the U.S.'s choice of leader in Venezuela if we had our choice. He lost an election to Maduro and had the backing of the U.S. in that election and is still around.
What is he? Was he educated at Harvard? Where did he go to college?
I'm going to say Georgetown as a guess.
Yeah. Oh, very spooky location.
Edmundo Gonzalez. We need the Jeopardy music. Da 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 da.
I like turtles.
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. I don't have any good. I don't have any good waiting music.
He's currently exiled in Spain.
Of course, you can't stick around in Venezuela.
Yeah, you know.
Accidentally get pushed into a cigar machine.
One of his daughters was born in Washington, D.C. in 1980, so that gives you a hint.
Yeah. Okay, so he's an American plant for sure.
I really want to know where he was educated, though. But Wikipedia does not say.
What are we going to do with Mexico? Because Mexico is, that's pretty democratic with Sheinbaum. The democratically elected Jewish woman, of course, Mexico being the famed Jewish state.
I got Mexico content coming.
Okay.
He was in the U.S. in 1980 because he was the Venezuelan ambassador to the U.S. in 1978.
And what was his name again? Edmundo Gonzalez.
Edmundo Gonzalez.
Yeah. Put him in. Yeah, what's his name's got to go. That's the U.S. State Department. Marco Rubio's number one take is he wants South America. He wants it for his people. Little Cuban guy taking over all of South America. Brazil would be a big one. Getting Brazil out of BRICS. It would just be RICS then.
Yeah, that's just one that you have to chip away at, though.
RICS would be, it sounds like a tattoo parlor more than a block of nations.
Yeah, so let's move on to Mexico. Now, Mexico has been in the news here and there because of the plans to use military assets against the cartels in Mexico.
Sure.
And I think this is a significant development in that progression. This is Mexican Senator Lily Tellez on Fox Weekends.
Now, is she a Mexican senator in that she
Yes, she is a Senator de Mexico.
Your accent is amazing. All right, here we go.
Put a marker down.
The president of Mexico is furious. She's calling Mexican Senator Lily Tellez a traitor for coming on Fox Noticias with me a few days ago and saying
a person named Scheinbaum calling someone a traitor? No.
This. Listen.
The help from the United States to fight the cartels in Mexico is absolutely welcome, and that is how the majority of Mexicans feel. The only ones who don't like that President Trump is sending help and trying to support Mexicans against the cartels are the narco politicians. That includes President Scheinbaum.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum responding, saying, quote, "It's not a minor issue that a senator gave an interview to a foreign media outlet calling for intervention."
Yeah, you know, she is a narco president, though, and that was established before she was elected because the guy who is currently in charge and was known for being soft on the narco families and the crime families, the cartels, endorsed her. And I think it was pretty much an endorsement of the cartels saying business as usual with this person.
Yes, the claw.
And I'm not going to lie, if I, for whatever reason, was in Mexico and I had some ambition to be president, I would also probably support the cartels because if you don't, you die. Something like 50 politicians were killed last year alone in Mexico.
You know, sometimes there are ideas that I think we should try here in America. Anyway, let's do Narco State number 2.
Here to discuss is that Mexican Senator Lily Tellez. Senator Tellez, welcome to Fox Noticias. I'm just going to get right to it.
Noticias.
Is Mexico a narco state?
Yes, it is. And we all Mexicans know about it. And Mexicans are afraid of the alliance between.
There's something right there in her phrasing. Yes, it is. And what?
Yes, it is. And we all Mexicans know about it.
Real Mexicans know about it.
I think she said we all Mexicans.
Oh, I thought she said real.
All Mexicans know about it.
Hold on.
Yes, it is. And we all Mexicans know about it. And Mexicans are afraid of the alliance between the Mexican government and the cartels that have infested our nation.
Can you explain this alliance between the president, her party, the Morena party, and the cartels?
Yes, the party has financed, has given, the cartels have given so much money to these politicians, narco politicians of Morena, to get into office, to get the power. So they protect, the Mexican government protects the cartels. That is why President Sheinbaum doesn't want the strong American leadership to help Mexico defeat the cartels. And also Sheinbaum doesn't want the rest of the world to know what is happening here in Mexico. We are on the steps to be the next Venezuela. She is aligned with Venezuela's dictator, with Cuba, and we are losing our country. They have destroyed our Republican institutions, the democratic state, and we must. I think we all Mexicans want and welcome the support of the United States to assist Mexican people against the cartels that have us all in this crisis with the traffic in fentanyl and migrants.
It's our republic and we don't want to lose it.
I think we call this the VN Triangle.
Ooh. I don't know if it's my headphones, but something's crispy.
Un momento.
Un momento. Yan a regresar en un momento.
Ay, 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 ay.
Ah, muy bien.
Muy bien, muy bien. See, yes, I will start. I will say what I said a second ago in just a second. Put marker down. I think we call this the Triangle of Villains.
Of villains?
Yes.
Could you have thought of a weaker name? It's got to be something.
Bad guys?
It's got to be something. Yeah, the Triangle of Bad Guys. Yes, that sounds like a 5-year-old. That's the bad guy triangle.
What about the? I don't know. I mean, they're really just dissidents.
What do we just call it? L Triangle.
L Triangle?
Yeah, that's good. That's fun. That's funny. Because it plays on the fact that they all speak Spanish and it's a triangle.
The Bermuda Bad Boys.
I'll take it. Bermuda Bad Boys.
They're really not, I mean, Bermuda. Anyway.
Okay. The Triangle. Okay. I'm going to stick with El Triangle. You can call it whatever you want.
Let's do the Triangle, Caribbean. I don't know. We'll work on it. We'll workshop it. Chat room, give us some ideas. Let's do Scheinbaum, the Claw response, number 3.
The Claw.
So her response to this, and I know this because her spokesperson came on our show in response to your interview, and they say, well, we just turned over 26 cartel members. We're working, we're sharing intelligence. What are they not doing? And why is she so resistant? She sort of speaks out of two sides of her mouth. We're working with you, Trump, and then she's chastising you for saying we need more help from the United States to crush the cartels.
Because she really doesn't want the help of the United States. She is lying to Mexican people, telling Mexican people that the United States will get in control of the whole country. Right. I never listened such nonsense from President Trump. What we have listened is that President Trump wants to help Mexican people against the cartels. Mexican people are suffering. So what they do is very, very little. We have huge narco politicians here in the Senate, in the presidents, governors. Mexico is a very dangerous place.
What about El Trilingo del
no.
Dulce de la Nariz?
Nope.
That's the triangle of nose candy.
It's the Narco Triangle.
El Triangle it is. So she's calling out Scheinbaum hard, huh?
Yeah, she is. And she's constantly checking notes. And they also on Fox News throw up a map of of Mexico. And it's the cartels of Mexico. And the entire map of Mexico is covered in one or another territory of cartels to make it look like the cartels are completely everywhere in Mexico. You can't go anywhere without there being a cartel there, which I thought was entertaining. This is grade A propaganda, basically, for the neo-Monroe doctrine of Marco Rubio. Whether you like it or not, I don't really care. But that's what this is. This is Fox News laying the groundwork for the U.S. to do as it pleases with the, triangle's just a hard word to marry anything with. But
what about the Marco
anyway,
triangle, the Marco trident?
Yeah, but it's not a trident.
Sure it is.
Marco's triangle.
El Triangle del Marco.
Yes. So, yeah, she's going in on Scheinbaum, the Claw. And I've got one more clip. And, of course, you have to ask this question. You alluded to it earlier. Are you afraid?
Well, that brings me to my next question, because you are speaking very bluntly, very clearly about Mexico being a narco state and the alliance and the connections to the president of Mexico. Are you afraid for your life?
Yes, I am afraid. And the president has threatened me to proceed against me with criminal prosecution, to get me out of the Senate and get me in jail, just because I told you in this space and Fox News what is the reality of our country with the cartels. The cartels are dominating everything here in Mexico. They are in all the offices of the government, in the states, in the cities, and in the national government. So, of course, I am afraid, but I want people to know I will not step back. And I pray under God's guidance that we, the United States and Mexico, must work together to defeat the cartels and to get freedom for our country, for Mexico, to stop it from being the next Venezuela.
Senator Lily Reyes, a very brave woman indeed. Thank you so much for coming on our show and speaking the truth.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
Got it.
La verdad. Yes, I pray to Dios en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo, that the drugs and the narcos, they go away. But I got a name. The Pyramid Peligrosa. Pyramid Peligrosa. The dangerous pyramid.
Yeah, okay. But you got to sell it to the American people, though. So you got to get away from the Spanish.
El Triangolo.
You're reading too much of the chat room, I can tell.
Serpent had a good one. He said, the polyhedron of the very, very scary bad guys. That one episode where we just named shapes and tried Spanish. Very good. So I actually had something that ties into this as well. Outside of that, there was a war of words that escalated between the lawyer of El Chapo and Scheinbaum as well. And I think that this has to do with a constant label. So there's some push to mark Mexico as a narco state, which it is. I mean, you can't really... The lady comes on Fox News to tell us what we already know. But it is a dangerous state. So the Chapo... his lawyer, who also has a Jewish last name, and the Jewish last name president of Mexico are in this little tiffy, and it relates to Mexico being bought off by the cartels, aka a narco state. So I'll play that.
New tonight from our NBC5 investigative team, the attorney for drug lord El Chapo has launched a fresh attack against the president of Mexico.
Now, the skirmish started last month when Chapo lawyer Jeffrey Lichtman accused Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum of being in cahoots with the cartels, and she retaliated with a lawsuit. Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy is joining us with the late details here. Chuck.
Come on in,
Alex,
Chuck.
it's War of Words Part 2 tonight between Lichtman, the lawyer, and Scheinbaum, the president, who has filed a defamation suit for what he said last month in the lobby of Chicago's Dirksen Federal Building. Their public skirmish reheating today when Lichtman took to his podcast to explain why he lashed out at the Mexican leader and to describe the death threats he's received since doing so.
The cartels had paid off the Mexican military and the Mexican government to the top.
When El Chapo's longtime lawyer made those comments a month ago here in Chicago, Mexico's new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, returned fire by threatening a defamation lawsuit against him. Since then, there has been a ceasefire until today, when Lichtman pointed his podcast straight at Mexico, what he equated to a third world septic tank, where grubby politicians try to crush rights.
I forgot that was in there. Third world septic tank. That's great.
And silence critics.
It just took the pressure off of them, I guess, for a few days by finding a boogeyman to blame.
You know, he's also someone who knows this history well because he's been being paid by and employed by the cartels for years in his career.
University of Chicago professor and Mexico expert Susan Jesch says Mexico's populace is also keenly aware of the cartel's vice grip.
The low-level extortion of ordinary small business people all the way to spectacular murders is something that everybody in Mexico, and I would say probably all the Mexican nationals who live in the Chicago area, which is close to 1 million people, have a deep understanding of.
Jeffrey Lichtman says he's just an attorney trying to defend his current client, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, as he defended Ovidio's father, billionaire kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. On his podcast, Beyond the Legal Limit, Lichtman tonight says Mexican leaders should be trying to solve deep education and economic problems there instead of targeting an American attorney.
The moral of the story is this: less time having press conferences about lawyers from other countries voicing their well-supported opinions, get it, opinion, and more time focusing on helping young children.
Boom. Gotta love the lawyer angle. I'm just a lawyer from Chicago. You're in Mexico.
I'm just a small town cartel lawyer.
I'm a cartel lawyer. Yeah, that's what's great about it. Is the lawyer? You gotta love the lawyer angle. He defends the head of the cartel, the king of the cartels in Mexico, El Chapo, the most famed cartel member, while simultaneously saying, well, Mexico's just been bought off by all the cartels. It's like he would know, you know what I mean? He obviously knows. But
we've been ignoring the obvious name.
What's that?
The Triangle of Death.
Where are you coming up with these names? Freaking 1930s books?
You just brought a report that said, oh, what was it? It's in the first few seconds. Play it again. I want to hear it.
The War of Words?
New tonight from our NBC5 investigative team, the attorney for drug lord El Chapo has launched a fresh attack against the president of Mexico.
Now, the skirmish started last month when Chapo lawyer Jeffrey Lichtman accused Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum of being in cahoots with the cartels.
Cahoots.
And she retaliated.
Cahoots.
Cahoots, yeah, cahoots. Making fun of my words. You're bringing clips with cahoots in it.
I don't know if you're new here, but we make fun of the media on the show.
Yeah, the Triangle of Death is a good name. That gets the American people to realize, hey, people die here.
You're talking about marketing to the American people. I'm talking about a fun name that people like. We need to point our podcast at that problem and blow it away.
Right, yeah. He pointed his podcast.
Yeah,
whoa.
Weaponized podcasts. Load an episode of MMA.
Would you say he gave
in your
her
chamber.
his microphone? Oh.
Gave him a piece of her. Gave Scheinbaum a piece of his microphone. I like that. There you go. I don't know.
So I knew I had heard Jeffrey Lichtman's name before. He is very well known for representing infamous clients. John Gotti Jr., several rappers, including Fat Joe, drill rappers, and a member of the Colombo crime family, Andy Mush Russo.
You know, I actually saw and met the head of the Colombo crime family a while ago. He was at a kind of this Christian men's speaking event that my boss had tickets for.
Did he get lost?
No, he found Christ and he turned away from crime. And he talked.
Oh, he was lost,
and now he's found. Amazing
Right.
grace. I forget his name though. Something Colombo.
You don't say.
Yeah. All right. So that is pretty much the Western Hemisphere that I have. Do you have any more Western Hemisphere?
No, I've got an
Oh.
inflation clip. It does have to do with trade between the southern, South America and North America. So we could go ahead and get it out of the way before we thank some people.
Okie dokie.
This is in the, I think, beef folder. Yeah, the beef folder.
Makes sense.
And this is an ABC report about beef prices.
Consumers grappling with rising beef prices. Morgan Norwood is tracking this all for us. And Morgan, this, of course, is top of mind with Labor Day coming up quickly.
So true, Mary. Beef prices may be sizzling, but that hasn't really stopped consumers from firing up the grill, at least yet. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, ground beef prices are up around 11.5%, and steaks are over 12% higher compared to last year. That's nearly 4 times the price jump of food overall during the same period. Several reasons for the increase: cattle herds at their lowest level in 74 years. You've got drought, ranches just not as profitable as they once were. Then you've also got those tariffs on imported beef from Brazil. That's also adding a little bit of pressure here. For now, red meat still on the table for most Americans, but the data suggests that consumers may actually cut back in 2026 if the prices stay where they are or continue to go up. But look, it's not just beef. Prices at the grocery store continue to rise on other staples like your coffee, egg prices, and experts say the cost of canned food and beverages are up due to tariffs as well. So bottom line, consumers looking to save, you can check shopping apps and also your local stores for those sales. Michael?
All right. Thank you so much, Morgan.
You can eat chicken, slaves. I'm surprised they didn't mention the screwworm in that report.
Well, they should have if they really want to get an idea of why prices are rising, because we cut off imports of Mexican beef and beef from South America, from a lot of parts of South America, because of the screwworm.
Our beef with South America. Marco's beef with South America. Damn. Perfect. Did you hear about the first human case of the screwworm?
Yes, a man from
Maryland.
South America. Yeah, Maryland man.
Another South American Maryland man?
Yeah.
Gee, what's going on, Maryland? I thought you were all about sweater vests and clam chowder, but evidently you're all about frijoles. Yeah, here I brought a clip on this.
Right now, Maryland health officials and the CDC confirming the first human case of a flesh-eating parasite in the United States.
Fox 5's Homa Bash joining us live now with more details. Homa, can we just begin with what exactly is this thing?
Okay, let me explain. It's called a New World screwworm, and this particular case in Maryland actually came from a patient who traveled in here from El Salvador. The Maryland Department of Health telling me that that person has since recovered, and their investigation has shown that it did not spread to any other people or any other animals. Now, the CDC confirmed this diagnosis on...
Wouldn't somebody have to eat him in order for that to happen?
What?
Isn't that how screwworm gets transferred? Is people eat the beef and then they get the screwworm?
No, not at all.
Is it embeds into someone's brain? I forget about the screwworm.
No, my word. No, have a seat. The new American screwworm lays its larva in open wounds.
That's right.
The larva then hatches and feeds on its host until it undergoes a metamorphosis into the new American screwworm, and thus the life cycle of the screwworm.
That would be something. Seeing a bug fly out of you. I would not like that. Okay, we'll continue.
August 4th by telediagnosis. They say this is the first human case here in the United States. The new world screwworm is actually a species of flies. The infection happens when they lay eggs in an open wound.
See, I should have
Primarily,
waited.
it affects livestock. There's an outbreak right now in Central America and parts of Mexico, devastating cattle herds there. But federal officials have been worried about impacts to the beef industry in the states if it starts to spread here. The USDA estimating an outbreak in Texas could actually cost the state nearly $2 billion due to livestock deaths and labor costs. Now, in humans, the infection from the screwworm can result in maggots around the nose, eyes, mouth, along with very painful skin sores.
So the larvae actually do feed on living tissue, and a key sign is a wound that won't actually heal and it continues to get worse, and you have severe pain, maybe unusual discharge. But importantly, it cannot spread from person to person. It does require the fly to lay eggs in a wound.
And that is really the key point here. The CDC says that impacts to public health here in the U.S. remain very low. And again, we know that person here in Maryland has since recovered from the infection. We still don't know which county that was in, their age, or their gender. Guys?
You don't know their age, their county, or their gender. That's a weird way of saying that.
Yeah, you could have just said they were illegal.
We don't know anything about them. Neither does our government because they came here illegally. Very good. All right, that does.
Yes, that is the reason for the beef prices increasing, as far as I can tell. And the question is, why isn't this being touted as a contributing factor, at very least, by the mainstream media who are reporting that beef prices are increasing? Because if you listen to them, it is because of weather conditions,
global warming,
and rising costs for farmers.
You could even tie the screwworm into global warming. I think that's the next phase.
I think you don't want to popularize the screwworm because it stigmatizes immigrants.
They're bringing over the screwworm.
Right.
Nice. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's probably the angle they're taking. Like monkeypox had to become mpox because, the implications there.
You can't stigmatize people. I mean, you can create hell on earth, but you better not stigmatize people.
Wow. There you go. The screwworm is being underplayed by the media because it could lead to racism. You can't handle the truth.
We might have to spell out words in judicial briefs.
That's right. The screwworm of origins geographically south of the United States. My God, that's fun. That is funny. All right, let's thank some people.
Millennial Media.
Offensive. I think we need to start calling the screwworm the, I don't know, what's a good name? We could change it to the equal opportunity worm, equality worm.
The diversity is our strength worm.
The buddy fly.
The no one is illegal worm. I'm for it. This podcast is for it. But you are riding along on the offensive every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Sometimes we're high energy, sometimes we're jebbed. Remember that one? Remember that one from last week? But we're always here on Tuesday, except for next Tuesday, actually, John. I'll leave it to you what you want to do, but I will be bear hunting in Minnesota next week, Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Should be. Hoping to get one. To get myself a Pooh Bear. I'll just look for the one that looks like Xi Jinping and pull the trigger.
No, I think I think a break is warranted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always nice to take a little extended break, let ourselves detox, maybe take a step back. I think it improves the analysis sometimes.
I think so too.
And we haven't taken a break all year.
That's true. I have been incredibly stressed out lately with work and then my personal life, as you know. There's large events that are happening in that. So I think it'll be good for me to disconnect from the internet for an entire week, and it'll definitely improve the value of the show and make people miss us a little bit because I got some news on our donation front coming up that might bum you out a little bit. But that being said, this episode.
Are we at a big fat zero?
Well, no, we're not a zero, thankfully, because of day of donors. But I was getting worried at around 2 p.m. today. Anyway, that being said, we don't have any sort of advertisers on the offensive. We instead rely on value contributed back to us by the people that are having the conversation along with us. Again, we like to think of this as like a conversation between friends at a bar, and it's always a good time. That being said, we always like to thank the person that provided the art from the previous week, and that was none other than Wolf, who I feel like he did. It's like a self. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a self-portrait, a portrait of himself, where it is graffitied Millennial Media Offensive font in our names, and then a street light pole of a guy wearing this MMO OTO hoodie, writing MMO, do art on it. It's basically like saying, that's what I get every week, is you tell me to do art, and that's it. And so I
think it's an appeal to other artists to help.
Yeah. Come on out. Other artists, submit your art.
You know, in lieu of donations for whatever term we want to talk about, with us taking a break next week, I think the focus should be shifted, and I'm extremely serious about this. We have a good group of people that support us and keep us going, and we really appreciate them, but we need new people on the offensive. We need a fresh class of people on the offensive. And, you know, that's completely in the hands of you, dear listener. You know people. You talk to people. I think our show is well established enough that no one is going to think less of you if you recommend this show to them and they don't like it. You know, they're not going to judge you because they don't like a show that you like. And you never know, you know, they could be a regular contributor that keeps us going, even if you come on hard times and have to relent your support for some time.
That's right. Don't make us play the Cup song, you know. We're going to miss you. You're going to miss me when we're gone, or whatever. However that goes. You know what I'm talking about, the Cup song?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think you're doing it.
But yes, I like this. I like the font effect, the graffiti font effect, and I consider it a cry for help. Now, I really
a cry for help. I love it.
I think it is. I like the symbol on the back of the shirt, and I did ask Wolf for a copy of this symbol, and I don't think I got it. I don't think I got a response.
His lack of response is his response. That means get bent, loser.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it in my inbox. If I missed it, just resend it to me. But I think that's I really like that MMOOTO symbol on the back of the shirt. And
Hello? John? Oh, we lost John. Uh-oh. Emergency music break.
We must
stop
the terror.
What?
Clean Feed. I'm going to go to the offices of Clean Feed. I don't know why it has started doing this. It just rips my source out of the website. Like the box where the source for my audio is listed, I go to it when it does that, and it's completely blank.
Weird.
So, if you'll play the last few seconds, I'll pick up wherever it cuts off.
Okay, that's a ask. That's an ask. Let's see. Mm-mm-mm.
And I don't think I got it. I don't think I got a response.
Are you going to talk or no?
But I thought you talked after that. I thought you said his non-answer was the response. Had you already said that?
Okay. Let's just keep in. I'll fix it in post.
But what I also requested was the MMO OTO symbol stylized like the Doomslayer symbol, because I think that would be cool too.
Yeah.
And alas, I did not get it. But it's fine, no harm in asking. But I like the art. The art is good, and even though it is a cry for help, I think it's warranted because he has been on a roll with the art and largely uncontested.
I agree. Thank you very much, Wolf, for your art submission and contributions. Over the weeks and months and years that the offensive has been on one. Now to our dono list. This is people that went to mmo.show/donate and found the donate button. Starting off at the top of the list comes in Cotton Gin through Cash App just now. And he sent in $10, and he says, for the Fix the Stream Fund. Thank you very much. I'm thinking about potentially moving the stream off of my network into a server that has better uptime than Charter Spectrum in St. Louis. Thank you, sir. Susan A. comes in through Cash App with $5.55, and she says, I was playing outside and remembered it's Tuesday. Thank you, Susan, for keeping us in your heart and in your mind. The Nail Lord of Gaylord comes in through Venmo with $5, and he says, N-Log here, OTO, almost forgot. You're not alone. I think a lot of people almost forgot, including Susan A. And then finally, Weirdo comes in through Cash App with $4.44 and says, shout out to everyone having a shitty effing day. OTO.
On the offensive.
I think we're having one of those, John. It's been a rough episode for us.
I don't think it has.
Well, that's just your opinion, man.
Well, it's just your opinion that it has been.
Okay. Very well.
We did have some people who donated Bitcoin, Satoshis, and top of the list is John McPain with 3,333 Satoshis. And he says, happy birthday, Ron, Paul, and Mr. H. Happy birthday to the both of you. I know Ron listens sometimes. Mr. H, I'm not so sure about, but happy birthday to both of you. Mary Kate Ultra comes in with 3,000 Satoshis.
Hey.
And says, thanks for discussing current events in a way that doesn't make me want to blow my own brains out. Heart emoji.
Thank you, Mary Kate. You can find...
Well, I'm
Mary Kate does a show called Homegrown Hits every Thursday night with Dame DeLorean of the Bull After Bull podcast, which is our Tuesday night show. They come on live after us. So thank you very much, Mary Kate. Ultra.
Yes, thank you. Oystein Berg comes in with 2,222 Satoshis and says, so I guess Donald Trump didn't bring any weed or magic mushrooms to Alaska. He should have. That would have been, the two leaders are now riding a polar bear.
And the B-52 is breathing.
Bully Steed comes in with 1,234 Satoshis and says, remain on the offensive, #OTO. Get your maps out, #MMO.
Tuesday is News Day.
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
Okay, now we've got a Mr. Ed who actually emailed us the text of his donation that failed, which I need to find.
Got it right here if you can't.
I got it. Yes, Mr. Ed comes in with 666 Satoshis, possibly more than that. 10,000, actually. 10,000 Satoshis, and then 666 on the back end, or 667. And thank you for the major boost, Mr. Ed. And he sends some good information with it, and I'm going to read this note now. He says, I wish I could contribute more to the show than what I am currently able to. I really appreciate the value and entertainment that your show provides. About your comments about Mexico City a few shows ago. Having lived the first 27 years of my life in Mexico and having hitchhiked up and down the country a few times, about 4 times, and having lived in Northern California for the last 5 years, I think that you guys are right in thinking that there is something off with Mexico City with regard to the rest of the country. Similarly to how woke people in the Bay Area of Northern California feel like they are the gold standard for the rest of the country, specifically if they haven't traveled to anywhere out of their city. If you expect woke radicals in Mexico, that would necessarily be in no other... did I skip something there? Let's see, let me back up. Similarly to how woke people in the Bay Area of Northern California feel like they are the gold standard for the rest of the country, especially if they haven't traveled to anywhere out of their city. If you expect woke radicals in Mexico, that would necessarily be in no other than in Mexico City, and they too feel like they are the gold standard for the rest of the country. You should see the historic feminist demonstrations on the Day of the Woman every March 8th. I don't know if the spooks in the embassy have anything to do with it, or if it's just the effect of how centralized the mass communication is in the country. But if anything crazy pours out of the USA, like the gender ideology hysteria, for example, it immediately peeks its head out in Mexico City for some reason. It's ironic, the identity conflict that the Chilango, person from the metropolitan area of Mexico City, underscores when they express such supposed dislike for the northern neighbor, and at the same time how it seems like they imitate a lot of things ideologically out of American Democrat agendas. Tell Lavish and Booberry that I miss them. Love and respect. Sorry for the long note. Mr. Ed. And then he clarifies with the 667 boost and says, I lived in Mexico, the country, for 28 years, not in Mexico City. I am working in the USA under a work visa. Well, thank you, Mr. Ed, for that enlightening note. I'm not surprised by that report from Mexico City and the culture in Mexico City. I think that's just a function of centralized urban populations. But that is fascinating that there is a disconnect, the irony, as you call it, of them wanting to resist American influence, but indulging themselves in American cultural influence regardless.
Sí, gracias, Mr. Ed. Y bienvenidos a los Estados Unidos. Ojalá hay muchas tetas y caguamas en tu futuro.
Then we have Piez, who comes in with 121 Satoshis and says, Used to's Jersey accents are trash.
You're not wrong there. 444. 444. I can't do it. And I just watched the Jersey Boys. See, that's why I went. I learned that I'm not good at Jersey accents, so I went to go see the Jersey Boys. And turns out seeing a bunch of gay guys that can sing and pretend to have a Jersey accent didn't help me all that much.
Yeah, I would suspect not.
Yeah.
2 people are streaming Satoshis as they listen to the show. That would be Oystein Berge and Eric Pepe.
Thank you, sirs.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, these people support the show because we ask them to support the show. We do not force them to subscribe to anything. We do not run ads on the show, which is why we ask every show for people to support it, because we're not going to do it for free. It takes a significant time out of our lives, and we're both about to have young children, and we both have regular jobs. I've got multiple, and I think Dan probably does some other stuff on the side too, legal or illegal, I'm not sure. But yes, our time is valuable, and we hope that the time you spend listening is also valuable. And if it is, we ask that you would turn around and make sure no one's behind you, and then donate to the show. Send us something. Send us something for our time. Send us something for your time, for the laughs, for the provocative thoughts, for refusing to use racial slurs because you may be listening at work, and I don't want to get you fired because that's how you support us.
You dumb Pollock. Just kidding.
Yes. Anyway, you get the point. We need your support. We hope that you would send it, and we would be very grateful if you would. Please support the show. It is value for values on the value for value model. We call it the value feedback loop here, because when we provide the show and you let us know that it's valuable, that means we're going to continue to provide the show.
That's right. And if you mention MMO at Weaver's Barrel Modification Services, you'll get 10% off your order. That's weaversbarrelmodification.com. Let's get into the second half of the show.
Get it on.
And I do want to clarify that I was just joking when I made the Polish comment, the Polak comment, and that is because we are actually in the top 200 of news commentary shows in Poland. So if that drops, that's
you realize
that's on me.
that. You also realize that Weaver Rifles is a real service, a real company.
Now, Weaver Barrel Modification.
No, but when I searched Weaver Barrel Modification, Weaver Rifles came up. We do not take payments from advertisers.
Yeah, that was a joke. It was about how Randy Weaver got pinched by the feds and then had his life turned upside down.
Yes, because he did.
Yep. Yes, so sorry, Poland. In short. Oh, let's see. Where should we kick this off? Why not Poland? Why not Poland? I think Poland would be a good place. So, Poland and Ukraine are getting in a little bit of...
Yeah, put us a marker down there.
Yeah, gotcha. They're getting a little bit of a tiffy recently, and it's all because of Nawrocki, the new president of Poland, who was recently elected, the far-right or hard-right leader of Poland, who thinks the Polish flag is a national symbol and not a hate symbol, radical. Anyways, he's released these new kind of citizenship crackdowns and border crackdowns, and it's kind of interesting.
President Karol Nawrocki.
Oh, not that one yet. This one.
Ukrainian refugees in Poland have been dealt a setback by the new President Karol Nawrocki in terms of the benefits they can avail in the country. Early in the day, Nawrocki announced changes to the rights and benefits available to refugees from Ukraine. Announcing his new plans, the conservative leader said that access to healthcare and child benefits will be limited for refugees who escaped to Poland from their war-torn country.
I did not change my opinion, and I intend to fulfill my obligations, and I believe that family benefit should only be granted to those Ukrainians who make the effort to work in Poland. The same with healthcare.
The decision comes as Nawrocki hardens his stance towards refugees in an attempt to promote and implement a Poles First policy. During presidential elections in May this year, the Polish president campaigned on similar lines as Donald Trump to curb the extent of access and benefits granted to immigrants and refugees in the country. The statement comes just one day after Ukrainians in Poland marked their country's Independence Day, as Kyiv continues to battle intensified front lines by the Russian military since Moscow's invasion in 2022. At the moment, refugees in Ukraine are eligible to receive the monthly family benefit of around $220 per child. That is refugees in Poland on the condition that their children attend Polish schools.
There you go. So cracking down on immigration, making the kids go to Polish school, and you can only get the benefit if you work in Poland. Seems like it makes sense on that front. So obviously that's an evil bill, and they gave him the evil AI voice there when they dubbed him over. But that wasn't the only news, and not the only AI voice, regrettably, in this report out of Poland. He also decided to ban certain symbols, or wanted to pass legislations to compare certain symbols to certain other symbols. So we're very much in that same federal judge in D.C. era with the flag of Israel becoming now a potential symbol of hate crime if you do anything to it. And so this is an AI voice. I apologize, but it is the only story I found that actually reported it that wasn't complete hogwash.
President Karol Nawrocki has unveiled a controversial bill to overhaul Poland's citizenship and border policies, citing threats from Russian aggression and what he terms banderism. This move builds on Poland's long-standing opposition to Vladimir Putin's regime, including its vocal condemnation of Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and support for sanctions against Moscow. The proposal, outlined in a fiery speech, extends the citizenship process from 3 to 10 years, underscoring that Polish citizenship is a sacred privilege, vital to the nation's future.
We must toughen these penalties in light of what's happening on Poland's eastern and western borders. There's also a certain component in this bill, ladies and gentlemen, that is fundamental and very important to us, to Poles. It aims to eliminate Russian propaganda and re-establish Polish-Ukrainian relations based on genuine partnership, mutual respect, and mutual sensitivity.
Nawrocki emphasized robust measures to secure Poland amid regional instability, a stance resonating with supporters wary of unchecked immigration. They view the bill as essential to safeguarding national sovereignty, continuing Poland's defiance of Russian influence, seen in its early support for Ukraine against Putin's 2022 invasion. A polarizing aspect of the bill is Nawrocki's push to criminalize the Banda symbol, equating it with Nazi and communist symbols under the Stop Banderism initiative. He ties this to historical wounds, notably the Volhynia massacre, aiming to counter Russian propaganda while fostering respectful Polish-Ukrainian ties.
Yes. So this is interesting. He moves the citizenship goalpost from 3 years living in Poland to 10 years living in Poland. Poland has taken in a lot of Ukrainian refugees after this war with Russia started. And what are we approaching? The 3-year mark of this war. So basically he's saying, you can stay here for now, but you're not becoming citizens. You're not becoming Polish.
Right.
You're going back when you can go back. And he mentions this banderism. And I heard this, and I remembered banderism, and I remember Stephen Bandera. And Stephen Bandera is this leader in Ukraine that was pretty much a Nazi. And don't take it from us, it's not Russian propaganda. The BBC did a report on it that we played in episode 12 of the show. Episode 12 of MMO, we brought you a clip from the BBC claiming that Ukraine had a Nazi problem. And they march with torches on his birthday every year and pretty much hold him up, red and black flags of blood and soil, repeating kind of Nazi slogans. That exists. That's real. And he's saying in Poland, we cannot honor Bandera. But, there's like a ton of statues, and he's pretty much like this respected hero in Ukrainian territory. But during that period, this Bandera fellow led a group that actually committed genocides against Polish people and Jewish Polish people. So that's what he's kind of pointing at. But it's funny because he markets it in a way that's going to improve relationships with Poland and Ukraine. And, saying, well, if Nazism isn't an issue in Ukraine, you guys would have no problem with labeling banderism as part of the Nazi movement and regime. and he's got him in a catch-22. Now, Zelensky's got to navigate a tight ship of knowing that a lot of his citizens are currently residing in Ukraine and knowing that Stephen Bandera is considered a national symbol. Which you might have picked out of that clip there is that it's the people in the east and south of the country that believe Bandera is kind of a bad guy and a Nazi. The east and south being that same area that Putin is trying to free from Ukraine on the premise of what? On the premise of their being attacked by Nazis. So it's kind of funny where Poland is saying, we don't like Russia, but we also don't like Ukraine and their fascination of Nazis. So playing a very tight European ship, and the president of Poland that Naraki currently holds is kind of more of a figurehead position than anything. The current president is still, or the current prime minister, his name escapes me, but he's been the prime minister for a little bit in Poland. I don't know if you know who that is. Tusk, Donald.
The Polish prime?
Yeah,
Tusk.
Donald Tusk. That's it. So, fun stuff there. A little, very much politicking, but, walking on the lines that, the Nazi issue in Ukraine has been called Russian propaganda, but there's historical, and not even historical, we're talking about years old evidence that still is a problem and exists. I mean, they've got the whole Azov battalion that's pretty much Nazi aligned. So, there you go. I thought that was interesting. Good job, Poland.
Yeah.
Lots of good. I think you got a winner there with Narosky.
Okay, well, I've got some news, an update from the Nord Stream bombing in the Russia folder.
Oh, yeah.
Nord Stream suspect arrested from the DW.
This is what it looked like in the Baltic Sea in September of 2022 following an international act of sabotage. Gas bubbling up from the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, results of a well-coordinated attack. On Thursday, almost 3 years later, authorities in Germany announced an arrest.
Festnehmen lassen. After 3 years of meticulous detective work, it's truly an impressive investigative success. Eindruckender Ermittlungserfolg.
The explosions were so powerful they registered as seismic activity along the gas pipelines which run from Russia to Germany and came just months after Russia launched its full-scale war against Ukraine. German prosecutors identified the suspect as Serhiy K., a Ukrainian national, saying he had been taken into custody in a seaside resort on Italy's east coast. Investigators say the suspect helped coordinate the bombing, carried out by divers who chartered a sailboat from a German port using fake IDs and licenses, and planted explosive devices along the underwater pipelines. The pipelines were not operational at the time. Because of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, Germany refused to use Nord Stream 2, and Russia itself had cut off gas from Nord Stream 1 in apparent retaliation for Europe's support for Kyiv. Ukraine has denied any involvement in the act of sabotage, and despite the nationality of the suspect, German prosecutors said the arrest demonstrated continued support for Ukraine.
We stand with Ukraine, and we will continue to stand with Ukraine. What is important to me is that we are a country governed by the rule of law, and that we thoroughly investigate crimes committed within our jurisdiction.
German prosecutors have issued an arrest warrant for another Ukrainian man last seen in Poland. The suspect in custody is expected to be transferred to Germany to face criminal charges and possibly a trial.
Yeah, this screams a scapegoat to me, or scapegoat. This is a Western morality play, I think.
You think so?
Yeah. What I mean by that is basically. So I actually asked, or I looked up.
Or do you think they're going to have him publicly state that he was an agent of Russia or something?
No, it's a morality play in that the pipeline explosion happened. It was clearly planned by the West. Biden came out and said something to the effect of, "We'll make sure it stops." Right? He said that, and then the pipeline blows up a couple days later.
There was a little more time there.
Well, whatever. But still, that happened, and the whole idea of the West is a morality play. Russia are these thugs. We're these democratic countries. We're rules based. We are led by the people, yada, yada, yada. So they need to arrest somebody because quite clearly, despite the initial responses, which there are a few, U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, in response to the pipeline blows up on BBC, said, "It seems Russia was to blame. It's highly unusual that these incidences are coincidence," she said. The economy minister, Robert Habeck, also implied that Russia, which has consistently denied responsibility, was responsible for the explosions by saying saying it wasn't us is like saying, I'm not the thief. And Ukraine blamed it on Russia, and then Ursula von der Leyen even said it was probably Russia. So all of those people were saying it. So basically, it clearly was not Russia, and no one could ever make sense of that narrative whatsoever. So it had to be somebody in the West, and the West can't take responsibility for the pipeline bombing, despite they are. So they put together this figurehead, this guy that was involved in it, probably the only guy and he probably doesn't know any of the other people's names. He's probably the say, I believe, we still stand with Ukraine, land or a land of laws. So that's my take on it.
Okay. Very good. Let's I actually have a clip from J.D. Vance regarding Russia and Ukraine and the negotiations that have been ongoing. And this is this isn't a presentation or anything. It's just a single clip. And this is a truth wants to come out. This is a clip where I think Vance wants to tell the truth, but he's a politician, so it kind of slips and he corrects himself. But you get the idea of what the truth may be in this situation.
Very quickly before I move to domestic issues for Americans who are watching, can you guarantee no U.S. boots on the ground as a part of these security guarantees?
The president's very clear. There are not going to be boots on the ground in Ukraine, but we are going to continue to play an active role in trying to ensure that the Ukrainians have the security guarantees and the confidence they need to stop the war on their end. And the Russians feel like they can bring the war to a conclusion on their end. It's complicated, Kristen, but we're going to keep on trying to play these parties. We're going to keep on trying to convince these parties to talk to each other and continue to play the game of diplomacy, because that's the only way to get this thing wrapped up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the only way that this comes to, the only person that can solve this is Donald Trump. And I think the kind of imagery of him handing it back to Europe and kind of wiping his hands of it that we saw last week is more of a play of saying, well, I'm out. It's Europe now. And that's what's, I guess, frightening for Putin, because he knows that the Europeans will not stop funding the war.
Yeah, which lends credence to the idea that the White House strategy is to play both parties against one another.
And that's kind of exactly what's happening. The war continues. That's fine, because Europe's buying our weapons from us, and we're making money. We're not paying for it. The war ends. Everyone wins. But it's no longer this whole we've got a shot clock, we got to put an end to it. I think Trump came out either today or yesterday and said something about 2 weeks again, saying he's going to be real pissed if Putin doesn't end the war in 2 weeks. Well, he's going to be real pissed in 2 weeks, because that's not going to happen. So,
but this could also, and this is a little bit nuanced, but Trump today in a question and answer session that he so loves, he made an offhanded comment about how bad the media was, but they may be getting better, he said. And that's the kind of thing, when you hear it from Trump, you shouldn't just dismiss it. And do you know what one of the media questions, the line of questioning, has been routinely to members of the Trump administration lately? Do you think that Trump is being played by Putin? That's been a common question from the media. I think that is a planted question to inspire confidence in the Kremlin that the U.S. and the Trump administration has doubts about whether they're being played by Putin, when in reality, the Trump administration is actively playing the Russians.
That could be that is pretty interesting. An interesting observation.
It's almost a feigning ignorance or feigning kind of flying by the seat of your pants. Well, do you hi, I'm from the media, and do you think the president is being played by Russia? Is he being played by Russia? And Moscow watches American media. Make no mistake. I mean, the Kremlin watches American media. They believe that the media is opposed to Trump and is going to try to seize on any weaknesses in the Trump administration. So they see this question as almost indicative of a truth. So they see the media asking, do you think the president is being played by Putin? And the knee-jerk reaction in the Kremlin has to be to believe that, well, Putin maybe does have the upper hand and is playing Trump, and maybe it's an attempt to get them to relax. And then, on top of that, you have Trump again coming in and saying, 2 more weeks, giving deadlines. Trump is the one giving deadlines here.
In our own media,
and then of course you got JD Vance saying, "We're going to play both sides." I mean, play the game of diplomacy.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's like Trump's the media narrative about Trump's fragile ego and how easy he is to manipulate and control like that lulls the Russians into a false confidence. I like that theory a lot. There are some internal pressures actually now mounting for Putin. And I think this plays into kind of our infrastructure talk that we've had where a factory explodes in the United States and then one explodes in Russia and then another one explodes in the United States, which happened this week. I didn't poll it, but there was apparently another large fire explosion at a factory in the U.S. But this story came across my radar, and it's true. I read articles about boots on the ground, but this is actually happening in Russia right now. And we've talked about how Russia is funding the war, which I will again hit on after I play this clip.
Ukraine has been repeatedly pounding Russian energy facilities with several drone and missile attacks on key oil refineries, sending petrol prices in Russia to record highs. Around 13% of Russia's oil refining capacity has been knocked out since the beginning of the month, according to the Moscow Times. Petrol prices have risen by nearly 10% in August and by about 50% since the start of the year in Russia. The biggest refinery in southern Russia was hit twice this month. Oil is Russia's biggest export, and the strikes are designed to try to hurt Vladimir Putin's ability to keep funding the war in Ukraine. In some parts of the country's far east, long lines of cars and trucks have been stretching back kilometres as drivers queued to fill up their cars with the most popular petrol blends unavailable.
There are problems with gasoline. We will endure, but this is a big hit to our family budget. A big hit. It's really noticeable.
Russia has acknowledged the shortages, but has blamed refinery maintenance and peak demand for fuel in summer. Some Ukrainians see the attack as a form of direct sanctions and taking matters into their own hands.
I guess the big question is, will it be a short-term inconvenience for Russians, or will it turn into something which is more, has more of a long-term impact on them and turns out to be more of an inconvenient, and will it impact the way that Russia is able to fund the war?
Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service says Russia has imposed fuel rations on citizens in some areas to try to reduce the fuel shortages.
Now, I don't know about you, but we oftentimes hit on the theme of, well, I think common commodities like bread and gasoline are things that really kind of frustrate the modern consumer. And we hit on that when we were talking about Biden and the lead up to the 2024 election. So now we were talking about eggs. Yeah, the price of eggs are too damn high. So we were talking about kind of how Russia was funding the war a couple of weeks ago, which was by running down their strategic oil reserve and selling it to China, India, all these countries to kind of up their domestic money supply to fund the war, to speed up factories, to develop more factories, to build weapons quicker. And the report that I believe came from not the Washington Post, either the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, they were saying that Russia probably had till about 2030 until their strategic oil reserve was tapped. But with this now hit on their refinery facilities, about 13% of their capacity has been reduced. It seems like that timeline might be speeding up. And so I think a little bit of domestic pressure on Putin might be part of this more grand strategy that we're talking about. So I don't know, but I think that that is not a good sign for old Vladdy in Russia. When people can't buy gas, can't travel, they're being rationed gas, then the public support for the war will start to dwindle quite a bit.
Yeah, and you've got the future supply of oil into Europe coming from the stands through the trip.
Yeah, no longer needed. No longer need to secure the Black Sea. Putin can have Crimea, and Europe can have energy, void of Russia.
I wouldn't doubt it if you could find an article online, if not today, in a few months, about substantial capital investments in the oil fields in the Stanish countries.
Kazakhstan. What's that first big stan? Let me look at this map here. Turkmenistan. That's the strike place because that's the closest and shortest route. Turkmenistan oil.
I think Kazakhstan has the most oil production, though.
That is a far stan. I think Russia's got a pretty good grip on Kazakhstan, if I'm not mistaken. That is short. That's a pretty short travel, too.
Anyway, your point is well taken.
Yeah. So that could be the shifting of cards. Like I said, the PPK giving peace, deciding to lay down their arms after 50 years of war in Turkey, Armenia and Azerbaijan putting aside their differences, all of these different things happening, Syria being overthrown, to clear a path from Europe to the Stans, just below Russia and just east of China. It's not happening in a vacuum. There's a grand design there.
Yeah, I agree. Now, since we're over there and you're talking about Turkey, I think we should move into my Mideast folder and hear some clips from Al Jazeera about Israel being in Syria.
Okay.
These are Israeli tanks on Syrian territory. Since the fall of the Assad regime, Israeli forces have moved beyond a demilitarized buffer zone and set at least 10 bases and outposts in Syria. Syrians are angry at Israel's violations of the 1974 disengagement agreement with their country. This video was posted by Israeli forces after they raided Syrian homes and arrested people, including a child, without proof of what they called an Iranian cell. That's in addition to Israel's military occupation of the Golan Heights in Syria and attacks on Syrian military facilities, including its navy, air defenses, jets, and heavy weaponry. But military incursions and occupation are not the only sources of tensions between Syria and Israel. Water security is also a major issue. Syrian media reports say the Israeli military now controls 40% of water sources shared by Syria and Jordan. After taking over the Al-Wahda Dam in the Yarmouk Basin in December, Israeli forces then advanced to the Al-Mantra Dam. But Syria is in a difficult position to respond. President Ahmed al-Shara's administration has to keep together a fragile unity government and not upset its Western supporters, who it needs to build its economy and gain international recognition as a safe partner. The Trump administration has lifted crippling sanctions on the country, and many believe the Syrian government has to do its part by improving ties with Israel as a quid pro quo.
You must improve ties with Israel, even though they're invading your Western land.
Well, your friend there in Syria has no leverage.
No, he was propped up by the West.
A puppet.
Yeah, he's put into spot by the West. Claims he's going to do all this stuff, and then he can't get a hold of all of these fighters now who probably realized that he's just a puppet for the CIA. You know, he had him arrested. Al-Julani, of course, is who we're speaking of in Syria. And now he's got to do the bidding of the West. Otherwise, he's going to face the next Assading, if you will. The next ousting.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the Assad here, because there's reporting around Venezuela that the internal language in the Trump administration is Maduro needs to be gotten rid of. The exact language is Maduro needs to go the way of Assad, which could mean it could be an appeal to the method where you have two countries that work together, two unusual bedfellows that work together, i.e. Israel and Turkey, to get rid of the Assad in question. Or it could just be, he needs to be deposed. But you've got Colombia and maybe even Brazil gets involved.
Brazil involved in overthrowing Maduro in Venezuela?
Never say never.
There's really not a threat from Guyana or Suriname. But yeah, Colombia could be one. They're, I guess, more Western friendly. I know a lot of Colombians. My cuñada colombiana, my sister-in-law, future sister-in-law is Colombian. Brazil is an interesting one because of their relationship with Russia and China in BRICS. So I don't know, but that would be interesting if they could pull it off. The ousting.
Brazil, though, has to know that they have an opportunity to straddle the fence in the way that Turkey and India do. And this could garner a lot of goodwill with the U.S. Now, what that goodwill would be worth with changing administrations through time, I can't tell you. But assisting in the overthrow of Maduro or the ousting of Maduro, the Assading of Maduro, would garner a lot of goodwill in the short term anyway.
Yeah. We need to Assad all the world leaders we don't like, including Putin. That is interesting. I like that theory a lot.
Got an article from Foreign Policy from October 2024, about a year ago. Lula is finally turning on Venezuela.
Lula. Who's Lula? Is that the Colombian president?
No, that's Brazil's president.
Oh.
Lula da Silva.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll read. The regime of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has few allies in Latin America or the world as crucial as Brazil. Under Workers' Party presidents Luis Inácio Lula da Silva and Dilma Rousseff and their longtime foreign policy strategist Celso Amorim, Brazil has consistently backed Venezuela's left-wing Bolivarian governments, from former President Hugo Chavez to Maduro. Even before Lula's presidency, Brazil stood by Venezuela. In 2002, under the centrist president Fernando Henrique Cardoso, Brazil swiftly condemned the coup against Chavez, standing in direct opposition to the U.S. stance. A little more background. In recent months, however, a subtle but clear shift in Brazil's stance has been taking shape. This change gained momentum after Venezuela's recent elections, with Maduro claiming to have won despite them being widely condemned by international observers as flawed and illegitimate. In a departure from his historically unwavering support and contrary to the PT's official position, Lula has refrained from accepting Maduro's victory. 2 weeks after the vote, Lula labeled Maduro's government as a, quote, very unpleasant regime with a, quote, authoritarian slant. So it's not impossible.
That would be something. Then we get our destroyers.
It
there.
really would be. That'd be huge.
I wonder how long we're going to keep our destroyers in that area.
Till everything's destroyed.
That's a good time to get them out, I suppose. And they could do
well,
no more
looks like
damage.
there's nothing left to destroy here, boys.
That's right.
We're gonna bring in the bulldozers now.
Bring them on in here. Well, fascinating. Is that your coverage of Syria and Venezuela?
Well, I've got one more Syria clip. This
Okay.
is the implications for Syria.
Gotcha.
Abraham Accords were announced at a big glamorous agreement during Trump 1 presidency. Not much of it has fulfilled its promises. So we could witness a signing ceremony in Washington, but that really doesn't mean much on the ground. It will take institutions, it will take a lot of time to settle the real issues on the ground, which is occupied territories.
But even if there is an understanding on the buffer zone and Israel respects Syrian sovereignty, the Shura administration is likely to have great difficulty selling it to many hardline factions and a population that largely opposes Zionism. Palestinians are part of Syrian society, and their struggles and suffering in Gaza resonate with Syrians. And then there are other regional and international considerations. Russian troops are based on Syrian territory, and while any deal may not affect that situation, it's more likely to have an impact on Syria's relationship with Turkey. Israel and Turkey are both vying for direct or indirect influence over Damascus.
Beyond this point is Syrian territory under the control of the Israeli government, and any diplomatic overtures will have to be met with balancing not just strong internal resistance, but also regional considerations, including that of Turkey, Jordan, and even Saudi Arabia. And to balance all of that, the Ahmed al-Shara administration has its work cut out for it. Osama Mujawid, Al Jazeera, Quneitra.
Yeah, I have a feeling Syria is going to remain a permanent rump state.
If it remains at all.
If it gets divided up between Israel and all those other countries, that would be something.
Yeah, I mean, Israel, I think, is trying to surround Lebanon. And the only real roadblock to that is Turkey wanting influence over Damascus. So this is going to be really interesting to see what happens with Syria. But not only is Israel having their way, and not only is Israel having their way with Syria, but the U.S. is as well. I've got an article here from Reuters, unfortunately being read through MSN, which is a trash, awful product that should be relegated to the long-forgotten annals of internet shame. U.S. forces conduct raid in northern Syria against IS target. U.S. forces took part in a pre-dawn raid in northwestern Syria early on Wednesday that targeted a member of the Islamic State group, a U.S. official and Syrian security source said. And they killed him. So we're in there taking out terrorists. Israel is just taking whatever they please. And our little prison girlfriend, who is wearing the moniker of president, is just saying, okay, do what you want. I'm happy to deal with the blowback of the Syrian people when they rise up and revolt against me, who can't do anything.
Happy to oblige.
Happy to oblige. Yes, please tear me apart limb by limb.
Oh, he's probably getting rich somehow, you have to imagine. So he's promised democracy eventually. Oh boy, yeah, I'm gonna ignite.
We promise you 72 democracies.
He's got an impossible job because within Syria there's like 5 different cultural.
Yeah, why do you
groups.
think we pulled him out of a prison to do it?
I know. Just be the guy that
How many guys were offered that job and said no thanks? I'd rather stay at the black site.
Did you see what they did to Gaddafi?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. That's not going to end well for Giuliani / Assad. or Ashara. I forget which name is even his. I think Al Ashara is his new name.
His real
Al
name.
Jilani is his terrorist name.
Yeah.
His nom de guerre, as his Wikipedia puts it.
Nom de guerre.
Which is like, yeah, he did too much terrorist stuff with this one. He's got to get a new name.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I've got some news from Australia, and I created a little jingle for when we have news from Australia. You want to hear it?
Oh, boy.
It's a good one.
Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Time for some news down under.
Huh? What do you think?
I mean, it's better than your pseudonym.
DJ Horsegoo. All right, yeah, some news out of Australia. Australia is condemning Iran for a string of anti-Semitic attacks, apparently. Here you go.
Since the terrible events of October 7, 2023, we have witnessed a number of appalling anti-Semitic attacks against Australia's Jewish community. ASIO has now gathered enough credible intelligence to reach a deeply disturbing conclusion that the Iranian government directed at least 2 of these attacks. Iran has sought to disguise its involvement, but ASIO assesses it was behind the attacks on the Lewis Continental Kitchen in Sydney on October 20 last year and the Adass Israel Synagogue in Melbourne on December 6 last year. These were extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression orchestrated by a foreign nation on Australian soil. It is totally unacceptable, and the Australian government is taking strong and decisive action in response. A short time ago, we informed the Iranian ambassador to Australia that he would be expelled. We have suspended operations at our embassy in Tehran, and all our diplomats are now safe in a third country. I can also announce the government will legislate to list Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, as a terrorist organisation.
There you go. Australia having beef with Iran now.
Yeah, the real question is this performative or is it a test case?
How would it be a test case?
Just using an American proxy to say, hey, you guys do this, so let's see how Iran responds, because, you know, we kind of need them to blow up the mosque in Israel so we can build the other temple. You know, we kind of need them to do that, so that you're part of the plan. Now kick their diplomat out.
Yeah, I don't know. I really didn't know what to make of it when I heard it.
I mean, obviously, I don't either, because that's terrible.
I thought it was so random. Like, who cares what Australia thinks?
Yeah,
honestly. And I'm sorry, Millennial Bookkeeper. It's just on the world stage. I'm not often worried about Australia's
Thanks
stance.
for buying our submarines, but
That's right. That's right. So yeah, maybe it's a ploy by Israel to try to again win the hearts and minds of people while they continue to murder women and children in Gaza. But who knows?
Yeah, but Dan, those women and children they're being used for propaganda.
That's right. They've purposely starved themselves to call attention to the matter.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I wonder if there's an Australian listener. First of all, we do value your input. We care what you say, not necessarily what your government says. If you have some sort of special insight as to what this could potentially mean for Australia and why they're saying this now, let us know. Because I don't know, I just thought that was weird, and I really wanted to play my new Australia jingle, so that's why I brought it.
Yes, what are the implications of the Iranian diplomats not having to worry about dingoes? Anyway, let's go to Africa.
Very well. Let's do it. Is it a large package?
It's by African standards, no.
Oh. I'm going to play it anyways.
Large African package.
Okay. Yes, I had brought up Ibrahim Traore before, and if history is any guide, you're not familiar with who that is. But this is the leader of Burkina Faso. The young guy, the young revolutionary in the red hat,
Yep.
The social media darling. And he is one.
This dude is the man.
My bad.
Wow, what are you doing?
I'm trying to do the podcast, my friend.
He's one of the leaders of the three countries across the Sahel region that have fallen to military coups.
Yep.
Juntas. So, yes, he is the most prominent and the most charismatic. And France 24 really takes issue with this, and they're going to tell us why we're being misled by falling for his dictatorial charm. This is the M23. No. This is Ibrahim Traoré, France 24.
This dude is the man.
People across Africa and the diaspora are talking about one man. Captain Ibrahim Traoré leads the West African nation of Burkina Faso.
We African heads of state must stop behaving like puppets who dance every time the imperialists pull the strings.
Ooh. Why does his message and his persona resonate so strongly?
I think people are, in essence, they're looking for saviors.
It's easier for them to hear that someone is doing great against imperialism and the Western world and France.
And also, why is there so much misinformation accompanying his fandom?
It's funny that France 24 would run this over one of their ex, what do you call it?
Well, I was mistaken. This is actually DW.
Okay. That makes less sense then. But yeah, he's a good-looking dude, I guess, for African dictator standards. Young, jacked, and well-spoken. That's why his message is resonating so well.
Right, and that's why people are picking him up on social media.
Yeah.
So let's hear a little bit of the background according to the DW.
Traoré came to power in a 2022 military coup. Two neighboring countries, Mali and Niger, have also had military takeovers and together formed their own regional club. But only one of their leaders has become an icon. He's young and he looks the part, like a revolutionary. Traoré echoes Thomas Sankara, the Pan-Africanist and reformist president of Burkina Faso, who was assassinated in 1987. Sankara's supporters accuse France, the former colonial power, of being behind his killing for his Marxist revolutionary stance. Ibrahim Traoré preaches a similar message of anti-imperialism and economic sovereignty, and that's music to many people's ears across Africa and beyond. Among Traoré's popular moves, kicking out French troops and attempting to rewrite mining contracts to bring in more revenue for Burkina Faso. There's also his focus on agriculture, the country's biggest employer. He's provided farmers with free access to farming equipment, but overall, the country's reality is more complex than many would suggest.
Nailed it.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I'm just saying, they basically listed all the points that I did for why he became like this icon.
Yes. I didn't hear them say that he's a good-looking man and I might give him a kiss, but yeah, close enough.
Dude, I was thinking when I was looking at this photo of him while it was going on, I really, and I think I've said this before, I really, really want that kind of camo shirt that he's got. It's dope.
I think you'd look good in it.
I think I would too.
I think we need to do a live show from some podcast convention, like outside of it, pretend that they kicked us out, and have our red berets on, and then just the whole show is planning the military junta of the podcast convention.
Okay.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. Remind me to never get lost in your head ever.
You'd have fun. Let's do, the DW is going to tell us about the narrative around Ibrahim Traoré.
Trash man. Wasn't he on the Cosby Show? plus the trash man. That's a good one.
The narrative around Traoré is riddled with misinformation, and most of the claims about his unprecedented achievements are often one-liners, unverified, or outright false, but heavy on emotion. Then there's been the flood of AI videos, some manipulating existing videos of Traoré, others made up altogether. In fact, some of the propaganda has been found to be part of a wider disinformation campaign. Journalist Justin Yaga has reported on a Russian-backed propaganda operation that often targeted France's role in Burkina Faso. This intensified around the time Russia began its invasion of Ukraine in 2022.
I remember some people reacting to our investigation saying, we don't care even if there is a propaganda campaign, or the only thing we care is that there are riots about France.
Burkina Faso has since pivoted away from France to Russia, offering gold in return for military support and, as it appears, a propaganda machine, one the Russians knew would appeal to Africans.
Yeah. The investigation we did was like discovering, the ground. I think a lot of other initiative, propaganda campaign are now built on these grounds.
What ground? Is he saying ground or grounds?
Yeah, these grounds.
What grounds?
The false narrative pushed by Russia.
Oh, I gotcha.
And, the things that they show are like, Burkina Faso pays off Western debt.
I want,
just
the electric
things
vehicle.
to improve the morale of the people.
Is the electric vehicle the first African electric vehicle? Remember that came out of Burkina Faso? I wonder if that's complete fabrication.
I don't know. That's just good old-fashioned trolling, which there is an intersection between trolling and propaganda. But let's go ahead and finish this out with now we've done the narrative from Russia a la Burkina Faso. Now let's hear the pushback from the Western outlet, DW.
While social media celebrates Traoré, it's a different story in his country, which has become more dangerous with a worsening crisis of ethnic and jihadist violence.
It actually sucks.
In fact, it was on this very issue that Traoré came to power. He criticized his predecessors for failing to stop the insecurity. But conditions have actually deteriorated under his rule. Burkina Faso is the country worst affected by terrorism, according to this year's Global Terrorism Index. And experts estimate about half of its territory is outside of government control. Human rights groups have also accused the army of carrying out atrocities against civilians. Yet such news only provokes Traoré's supporters and sparks their claims that this is all a witch hunt.
Witch hunt. Oh my God. Burkina Faso elected their Trump.
Yep. Yep.
So I typed in Burkina Faso electric vehicle to look for sources that are talking about it. When I hit the news tab, it says no news articles found. If I hit the all tab, Business Insider Africa, which is actually Africa Business Insider and not related to Business Insider, the African Journal Online, the Habari Network, African Briefing, African Vibes, the Mavravi Post, the African Dream. These are all names of the networks, the MawaliFreedomNetwork.com. So these are all propaganda websites. The electric vehicle doesn't even exist. It might exist, but they're not going to be making it. You're not going to see them driven.
Are you surprised?
No, but it's interesting. It's
your dreams are crushed.
Well, I mean, of course, it's not really a Burkina Faso's electric vehicle. If anything, it's a Chinese electric vehicle that they slapped Burkina Faso on. But still,
well, the name of the guy who made the African electric vehicle, right? Do you?
Sun Gogo? What is it?
No. That's the Filipino who made it. The African guy who made the electric vehicle is D. Long Musk.
And I'm the gay one that wants to kiss the Burkina Faso. Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have fun here.
We do, from time to time. Wow. Okay. Burkina Faso electric vehicle. It's a lie, everybody. In case, don't get your hopes up.
Shocked.
Yeah.
I've got one more Africa clip, and this is an update on the Congo, Rwanda issue.
Okay.
And Reuters is reporting on M23 massacres.
Gotcha.
Rwanda-backed M23 rebels killed at least 140 people in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in July. That's according to a Human Rights Watch report released on Wednesday that highlights how violence remains elevated despite the US and Qatar-backed peace talks underway. While Reuters could not independently verify the report, the advocacy group provided new details about the killing spree first reported by Reuters in July. It said total killings in Rutshuru territory in July may exceed 300, echoing similar findings by the United Nations last month. HRW said witness accounts indicated the attacks took place in at least 14 villages and farming areas near Virunga National Park in eastern Congo in July. Citing 15 witness accounts, medical staff, UN personnel, and other sources, HRW said most victims were ethnic Hutu, with some ethnic Nandi. The killings occurred weeks after a June 27th US-brokered preliminary deal between Congo and Rwanda, and peace negotiations in Qatar between Congo and M23 rebels. M23 has previously denied any role in the killings and did not respond to a request for comment on the report.
300 people in a month? Israel has 300 people before lunch.
You got to get those numbers up.
That's right. Those are rookie numbers.
Those are rookie numbers. That's all I've got.
Well, that was a sizable African package, I'd say. I don't have anything, so I'm tapped out.
Okay. Well, why don't we get out of here then?
Let's do that. Let's give these people their time back. Huh? You don't have to stay on the offensive long. We're just happy to have you while you're here. And that's the MMO guarantee.
And as a reminder, Dan will be out next week. I will also be taking the week off. We will see you next Tuesday, not next Tuesday.
That's right.
So take a break, relax, think about how much you wish there was an MMO next Tuesday.
You're going to miss us when we're gone. Everyone knows it. I'll be in the woods of northern Minnesota, trying to hunt a predator. A predator that is oftentimes described as a large raccoon.
Terrifying.
Terrifying. He'll kill you, but you gotta corner him.
Not before he washes you in a stream.
That's right. I was listening to a show last night, and they were talking about these bears in Russia, and these women that were tapping a tree, and this brown bear in Russia pretty much almost killed the woman, grabbed her by the neck, and almost killed her, but didn't kill her, buried her, brought her near death, but didn't kill her, and then buried her under sticks to come back and eat her later, but she was found in the meantime. And they killed the bear. But they say that brown bears do that so the meat is fresher when they come back to feast.
So, I'm not exactly hungry right now, but I'll save you for later.
I'll tell you what. If we're not back next Tuesday, go looking for me in the woods of Minnesota. That's where I'll be. Looking at
All right,
you, Eric.
everybody, we're looking for a pile of sticks.
That's right. A pile of sticks and a large man underneath. Eric PP, you're going to be my first responder because you're in the Minneapolis area. Looks to be only about an 8-hour drive for you, so hope to see you soon.
Well, I'll be in the garden getting dirt on my fingernails.
As you should be. But until next time, I have been Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where we burn all your flags, I'm John G. Dew.
And in the event that you happen upon a crowd of people that are burning your flag, make sure you keep one in the chamber and that slide is well lubricated and you're ready to aim for center of mass and double tap. Because one's just not enough. See you next Tuesday. MMO. Out.
Okay. I think we've only got one piece of art, and I don't think it's going to cancel any titles other than Jebbed Out.
Okay. I don't mind the piece of art.
Yeah, me either.
Good job,
fine.
Serpent. Thank you, sir. What resolution is this?
Not very high.
What are you doing, Serpent? It's good. It's good. Most people look at it in an inch by an inch on their screen.
Yeah, yeah, if that.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Feeney was working tonight. Apparently the stream was struggling.
Big time.
This week's in title list. This week in John's ass.
Slightly jabbed.
Slightly jabbed, Nutcracker, Mega Slop, Surface Level Memes, Wes is More, N star 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 star. Not a happy symbol. Selective Punishment, The Kilmar Show, Latin George Floyd, Legging Stream Floyd, Peace Zone, El Marco del Marco, Triangle of Bad Guys, El Triangle, Third World Septic Tank, Cartel Lawyer, Our Beef with South America, Jebbed, not sponsored by Stamps.com, and 72 Democracies. Holy smokes. And we just got a plethora in from, the Stan Road. That's a good one. It's an oldie.
Oh, he did do the symbol for me.
He sent you the symbol.
Tons of drugs triangle.
Okay.
I think that's got to be our art.
That's good. I love that the art is so dick butt, just like weenie butt. There's something you gotta love about that. Let me drop this into the chat room so Serpent can see why he lost. Oh, I love Serpent. Thank you so much for the art submission. It is good, and will potentially that's definitely going to be in a backlog. I'm going to keep that in the art folder. But this is too good. Ton of drugs triangle. I like that the capitals are on there too. It's well done.
Yeah.
I wonder, Wolf, do you ever go to Dat Font? Is that where you're getting these fonts from? Because that's where I used to get my fonts from before I decided that FB Impact Bold was good enough for most arts.
I mean, you can ask for all the help you want, Wolf, but there's not much that's going to beat that.
This is great. Let's see the other one. What is this? MMOTO class of 25. I'm not sure I get that.
I said we needed a new class of listener.
Oh, I see. I see. That's funny. I like that it's in a barren wasteland where no one will see it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels sometimes. I love the font on that one, though, I will say. Especially the Millennial Media Offensive up top.
Yeah.
I like that it's justified on the top of the letters. I think that's...
So the only thing I don't like, even though I think there's no doubt it's going to be the winner, the only thing I don't like about Tons of Drugs Triangle is the dead space between the triangle and the title.
It's America.
Yeah. Okay, the fentanyl space.
Meth land.
Meth land.
The Stan Road. I think I have that one saved in my thing.
Yeah, you should have that one saved.
I like that our names are bullet riddled.
Yeah.
Damn, just the amount of like detail he puts into these pieces. They're a hard band to beat.
Yeah,
Wolf.
they're really nice.
Yeah. Tons of Drugs Triangle.
So what's our title if we do Tons of Drugs Triangle? I've got Dictatorial Charm as a suggested title, which I think is a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, a lot of our titles are like El Marco del Marco. Which, I mean, we could use that. I like that one a lot. We can't do El Triangle or Selective Punishment.
I kind of like N star 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 star.
You know, I was thinking tonight, I don't like the whole Venezuela thing. It would be interesting if, what's his name was still with us? Surveyor Jose.
Yeah.
But he dropped off. You said it must have been something we said, but I think it was because he found a girlfriend. I follow him on Instagram. The guy's got a girlfriend. And he's like, see you losers. I'm getting
Podcast. I'm getting laid.
That's right. I'm getting the deed done.